Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna start a new series, What If Naruto Was Simped Over by Sakura, Part 1. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Sakura sat on the bench where she and Sasuke nearly shared their first kiss. But after that, he had fled, and upon his return, he had said, "Am I bothersome?" Astonished, she thought, was it his statement? She let it to soak in, and the pain was intense. She was little more than a bother to the person she had spent the latter years of her life with. Then regret flooded her as she thought about a certain boy with blonde hair. Naruto feels this way, and I do too. She reflected regretfully on how, only moments before, she had pushed him away when he asked her to lunch, as if he were a weirdo or a bother. That's not how I should treat him. I'm going to be friendly the next time I meet him. She then heard a loud moan close by and turned to find the boy with the blonde, spiky hair approaching her while clutching his stomach and wearing a pained expression. Unaware of her presence, Naruto muttered, "Ah, I think I ate something bad." "He's coming, grin, grin." Sakura convinced herself that she had always considered the lad annoying, and she tried her hardest to make herself do so in his direction. Now, though, she had to make an effort to be kind. She wanted to attempt to patch things up now that she could taste his feelings every day. Simply invite him to accompany you for a walk. But before she could do that, she stopped herself. She needed to apologize right away for the way she treated him. She also observed his agonized expression as she gazed at him. There was a problem. She rose and sprinted in his direction. She said, "Naruto? What's wrong?" Naruto looked at Sakura and said, "Huh? Sakura?" With sincere worry, she inquired, "You feeling okay?" He had always irritated her, but she didn't enjoy it when he was hurting. Naruto seemed surprised that she was suddenly concerned about his fate. "Am I feeling okay? You said just a while ago I was annoying," he replied. She gave a nod. "Yeah, sorry about that. I just got called that by Sasuke when he walked by me." Naruto's eyes became wide with shock. "It was weird," continued Sakura. "First he sat next to me with a smile, then he ran off, and when he came back, he said I was annoying." Naruto's jaw dropped. Sakura was unaware that he was the Sasuke who had sat down with her, smiled, and nearly kissed her before having a terrible restroom emergency. She had apparently run into the real Sasuke while searching for him. Using his shadow clones, Naruto had imprisoned Sasuke in order to change into him and discover Sakura's opinion on him. After Sasuke located him, they nearly had a second round, but Naruto had to use the restroom once more. "So, I got a bit of a taste of how you feel, Naruto. I'm sorry for how I treated you," Sakura replied. "I'm gonna try and be nicer from now." Naruto reddened. Was his crush going to be kind? The thought nearly made him smile, but instead he moaned and held his stomach as it lurched in agony once more. Sakura saw his response. "Are you okay?" Naruto gave a headshake. "My stomach's been bugging me for a while now. Ah, I got to go to the bathroom again." Clinging to his groin, he rushed off. Part of Sakura wanted to follow and assist him, at least to attempt to set things right, but she watched with sympathy. However, she was unable to use a men's restroom, but she still had to make an effort to assist. She hurried to the Leaf Village's closest shop and inquired about medications for stomachaches. She returned to the bench when the pharmacist gave her a tiny bottle of tablets. "I hope Naruto will choose this path once more. This would be helpful if he was still experiencing issues." She waited for a while. Less than an hour ago, she would never have imagined herself waiting for Naruto Uzumaki, so it was difficult to believe she was doing this. It's funny how things can change in an instant. She was lucky not to have to wait long. When Naruto returned, he still appeared to be in pain. She cried out, "Hey," and walked over to him. "Here, these might help." She gave the pills to him. As soon as he saw them, he threw some in his mouth. After a moment of standing, he grinned. The words, "Wow, thanks Sakura. I feel better already," were spoken by Naruto. Sakura responded, "You're welcome," trying to sound amiable. Naruto considered asking her to lunch, but he decided against it. Maybe he shouldn't be pushed too hard. "Well, I guess I'll see you tomorrow when we meet our sensei," replied Naruto. She gave a nod. "Yeah, see you then. I hope we can at least be friends." Naruto gave a nod. "I'll try not to be too annoying." He left. The following day, the genin squads assembled in the classroom for a farewell meeting. Jonin, the elite ninja who would guide the groups of 3 on their assignments, picked them up one by one. Their team did not have luck because Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto were the last people in the classroom when all the other teams were called and brought out. Naruto commented impatiently, "He's late, aw man." Sakura cautioned Naruto that whining about it would not solve the problem. Sasuke just sat at his seat with his fingers crossed coolly, while she and Naruto stood. He was very composed and grown up, in contrast to silly Naruto, who was constantly missing class. Naruto then came up with a wonderful idea. For a joke, at least. He reached for an eraser and inserted it inside the door. Sakura said, "Hey, what are you doing?" to the blonde. Naruto exclaimed, "This is what he gets for being late." Sakura mouthed, "Naruto, I don't think we should be pulling stuff like that." However, her inner self had a different idea. "Whoa. I adore such things. It ought to be fine." "You really expect him to fall for something like that?" Sasuke said without even looking. "Our sensei is a Jonin, an elite ninja." Sakura agreed with her infatuation in the hopes of winning him favor and escaping the bothersome category. "Yeah, Sasuke's right," she said. After remembering her pledge to be more kind, she decided against calling Naruto stupid. To her complete astonishment, however, the door opened and the eraser landed on the head of the approaching Jonin. He had a strange hairdo that stood up quite a bit. He had silver hair like an elderly man, yet he didn't appear to be older than his mid-20s. He had a mask over his lower face, allowing them to see only his hair and one eye, and his headband was slanted to conceal one eye as well. Pointing at the Jonin, Naruto erupted in laughter. Sakura applauded Naruto for his perfect shot in her mind while attempting to apologize with her tongue. She had to force herself not to laugh. Then something was added by her inner self. It just said to Sakura, "One point to Naruto." Sakura thought, "Shut up, inner me, so he's a little funny, he's still got nothing on Sasuke." Meanwhile, Sasuke scowled and started to question whether this man was truly a Jonin. Their sensei looked at the eraser and spoke after picking it up. Let's see. How can I put this straight? My first impression of this group, you're a bunch of idiots." That was painful. After guiding them to the academy's highest level, the sensei asked them to identify themselves. Other than his name, Kakashi Hitaki, he didn't really tell them anything about himself. The others went around sharing their dislikes, and future goals. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I really like the noodles at Ichiraku Ramen. I dislike the way everyone in this village treats me. Like I've got some sort of disease or something, and my dream is to become the greatest Hokage so that people will stop disrespecting me." Sakura gave him a look. When Sasuke stated she was bothersome yesterday, she was reminded once more of how lonely he was and how she had experienced a little of it herself. She turned her gaze from Naruto to Sasuke in the hopes of influencing his perception of her. Kakashi pointed at her and said, Your turn." Sakura exclaimed, "Oh right, sorry sensei, instead, I'm Sakura Haruno and I like." She blushed as she glanced at Sasuke. He was the first person she liked. "I suppose I enjoy dumplings, and my fantasy is." She gave Sasuke another glance. "Well, I suppose my dream is to marry a specific person at some point. I don't irritate a certain person. However, I'm making an effort to treat that person more kindly." She kept her gaze on Naruto and said, "He might not be all evil after all." Even as the dead last at the Ninja Academy, he knew she was talking about him. She'd said it to his face yesterday. So hearing that he might not be so bad from her gave him a glimmer of hope. She hoped that at least wouldn't hurt Naruto's feelings too much, even though her dislike of him was beginning to lessen. He had almost made her laugh with his little prank against Kakashi. It was Sasuke's time now. "My name is Sasuke Uchiha. There are many things that I despise, and I don't especially enjoy anything. I'm going to turn what I have into a reality. It's not a dream. I'm going to destroy a certain person and bring my clan back." Sakura stared in wonder, thinking of him resurrecting his clan, with her by his side, though she was a little shook by the deadly intent that came with the last sentence. Naruto trembled in terror, praying that Sasuke wasn't referring to him. "And he doesn't really like anything. That's cold. How can I make him like me if he doesn't like anything? Damn, I'll be stuck with aggravating him forever. Sasuke is so hot, but he's also kind of terrifying." The outcome was exactly as Kakashi had anticipated, and he proceeded to inform them that they would either be sent back to the academy or undergo a survival test tomorrow, in which they would either be formally recognized as genin. The following morning, the sensei was late for their survival test once more, so they had to wait for hours. They had been told not to eat breakfast, so they had to deal with the pain in their stomachs. Their test was to take 2 bells from Kakashi. The 2 who got the bells became genin, and the other one went back to the academy. The three of them split up and went into hiding, but Naruto was eager to get right into the fight and charged Kakashi head-on. But the Jonin was too strong for his amateurish taijutsu. Kakashi stopped the blonde's attacks with one hand while reading a book in the other. He then got behind Naruto and gave him a pair of fingers right in the butt, sending him flying while Sasuke and Sakura watched from their hiding places. Subsequently, Naruto surprised Sakura by emerging from the water he had fallen into, or rather, 7 of him emerged. Shadow clones. These were realistic clones with the ability to attack, not just images like the ones the students had learned in the academy. Sakura questioned how he could have done that. Sakura flushed as she watched, wondering when Naruto became so cool. She was even more amazed when one Naruto pinned Kakashi from behind and 5 others did the same, leaving one to attack him. Her inner self said, "Wow, you might be better than I thought, Naruto. If you continue to amaze me in this way, perhaps we might go on a date." Sakura saw and counted 7 Narutos still, but Naruto was suddenly clutching himself and Kakashi was gone. Naruto started fighting with himself and all of his clones, believing that Kakashi had used a jutsu to change into him. "Naruto. He didn't change. Jutsu was the substitute he used," she yelled. Her words caused the 7 Narutos to cease their attacks on one another, and Sakura flinched in fear when she realized her shout had revealed her location. She ran out of the bushes and stood by Naruto's side, holding a kunai ready, even though she would have preferred to team up with Sasuke but didn't know where he was at the moment. However, Kakashi didn't show up. "He must have gone out to make us look for him all over again," she said, exhaling in relief. "Or he's simply observing us." Gosh. After Naruto dispelled the jutsu, his clones vanished. "Look." Naruto pointed to the ground. A bell. She also witnessed it, but when he fled, he must have dropped it. "Well, it's mine now." Naruto made a sudden dive at the silver bell. "No, Naruto, don't," Sakura issued another warning. This time, it was too late. Naruto fell into the trap, and he was pulled up by a rope from a tree near the bell. Sakura looked at the bell, thinking that since Naruto had already set off the trap, this was her chance to get one bell and still be with Sasuke, which might impress him too. However, Kakashi swooped and grabbed it before she could take 2 steps in that direction, and he turned to lecture Naruto about thinking before using a jutsu and not taking just obvious bait. However, she noticed both of them. Kakashi said, looking at Sakura, his one eye seeming to glimmer like he was smiling. "Good eye, Sakura." With a smile, Sakura said, "Thank you, sensei. But don't let your guard down," he said, while narrowing his eye. He then used genjutsu on her, causing her to swoon and scream as she witnessed the illusion of Sasuke emerging from the forest, bleeding and pleading for aid. "Well, I guess I went a little too far," Kakashi remarked, "but she needs to learn to see through these things." "How did you harm her?" Naruto hung upside down and asked. "Genjutsu. Easy mental control," Kakashi instructed him. It was Sasuke's turn now, and he launched a shuriken attack from his hiding place, hoping to catch Kakashi off guard while the other 2 distracted him. However, Kakashi simply replaced him, and Sasuke moved through the trees and was soon discovered. The year's best student put up a good fight, breaking one of Kakashi's traps with a kunai, then ambushing Kakashi with an attack and actually touching a bell before Kakashi threw him off, before hurling a fireball jutsu at Kakashi. Ultimately, however, the highly skilled genin was dragged underground by an earth-style headhunter jutsu, trapping him in the earth with only his head visible. When Sakura awoke, she asked, What? Then she remembered the last picture she had seen. Sakura. From above, she heard a voice. She noticed Naruto still hanging from a tree when she looked up. "Naruto. Is Sasuke okay?" she yelled. "I saw him, he was almost about to." As Naruto said it, "He's probably fine, Sakura. What you saw wasn't real, sensei hit you with a genjutsu." She let out a sigh. "Phew. That's a relief." Naruto said, "Can you get me down?" She nodded, but scowled. "I suppose." She approached and severed the rope. Just a second after Naruto landed, a second one grabbed him. She clipped that one too, scoffing. That resolved the issue. "Thanks, Sakura," exclaimed Naruto. Instead of responding, she hurried into the woods in the hopes of locating Sasuke. Naruto yelled out, "Hey, wait," and followed. She halted at the sight after running through the trees. With just his head protruding from the ground, Sasuke gazed at her. Naruto saw him also after catching up with her. Sasuke calmly said, "Naruto? Sakura?" Sakura cried out, "Ah. Sasuke is just a head without a body and he's talking." And she passed out once more. Both Naruto and Sasuke looked at her pityingly. And that's my partner, complained Sasuke. With a hint of amusement, Naruto questioned, what happened to you, jerk? As Sasuke put it, I got dragged underground, you loser, get me out. Despite snickering, Naruto started stabbing the ground surrounding Sasuke with his kunai and eventually succeeded in freeing him. Sakura was then awakened. As soon as she saw Sasuke, she gave him a hug. Oh Sasuke, I'm so glad you're alright. Sasuke yelled, get off of me, as he tore himself from her hold. Sakura felt those words pierce her heart. Why did he need to be so aloof? When Sasuke stated, okay, I have to hurry if I want to get a bell. Yeah, exclaimed Naruto. Let's get back to it. Sakura gave them both a look. Hey, I have an idea. Maybe we should all go after him together. We'll never be able to beat him one-on-one. Sasuke scowled. He had thought these two were less talented than him, but were they really so worthless that they were powerless? Sakura had recognized the sensei's ruse and trap, and Naruto indeed possessed shadow clones. They might not have been worthless. Naruto, on the other hand, embraced the concept right away. Yeah, I think that could work. The words, all right, just this once, came from Sasuke. However, it was too late. Their time was up when the clock struck the hour. They located Kakashi by returning to the training field center. Well, you three didn't do quite as bad as I thought you might, Kakashi remarked, glancing at them. But your teamwork needs some serious work. He started to explain after they gave him a look. The whole point of this exercise was to divide you and turn you against each other with the bells. Fortunately, you at least made some small efforts to cooperate. Sakura, you pointed out my trick to Naruto. Even if your focus was more devoted to Sasuke, you didn't abandon your other teammate. Sasuke, you tried to get a sneak attack on me while I was putting Sakura under genjutsu. And Naruto, well, you at least stood by Sakura once she appeared. Not perfect, but not too terrible. If that had gone on any longer, you three would have all come together and faced me. All right, I suppose you pass. Sakura clasped her hands together and gazed longingly at Sasuke before giving Naruto a quick look and smiling back. The Uchiha grinned. All right, we'll have to work on our flaws. Naruto, you do everything on your own. And Sasuke, you felt the other two were so far beneath they were worthless. Arrogance like that can get you or squadmates killed. Remember this, those that break the rules are scum, but those who would abandon their friends are worse than scum. He continued by showing them a neighboring stone that honors those who were killed in the previous battle. He then congratulated them on their death, though. Well, Team 7 starts its first mission tomorrow. I'd advise you all to go home and celebrate, but maybe spend some time together as well. Have lunch. I bought boxed ones with me. He indicated the 3 posts that were close by and had boxed lunches. Without delay, Naruto rushed over and started filling his face. Sakura approached him and joined him. She returned his smile. Sasuke approached, ate his meal, and then started to leave. Sakura said, Hey Sasuke, aren't you gonna eat with us? He sneered, Hey, there's no point in staying together now. We all passed, so I'm heading home. Sakura flinched. He was really icy. How could you get his attention? Naruto remarked, Well, guess it's just us then, huh, Sakura? I suppose, explained Sakura. So, Naruto, how did you learn to use shadow clones like that? After she and the others passed the first exam that he had failed, Naruto started to tell her the story of what had transpired. Mizuki, a friend of Iruka, their academy instructor, had approached him. Mizuki had attempted to murder him in order to obtain the scroll of sealing after deceiving him into stealing it. However, it backfired when Naruto overcame him using the shadow clone jutsu that he had learned from the scroll. However, he omitted the section in which he discovered that he also held the 9-tailed fox. Sakura paid attention to the tail, but he seemed to be concealing something. Well, I'm impressed you can do those clones, Naruto, Sakura replied. Thanks, Sakura. Sakura remarked, but don't think you're cooler than Sasuke. But, she told herself, however, you have at least somewhat won my approval. After all, you're not that horrible. The following day, Iruka and the third Hokage Hizuzen Sarutobi were waiting in the academy's mission room when Team 7, which included Kakashi, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura, arrived. They discovered the other 2 defeated genin squads inside. Team 8, who was led by Kurenai Yuhi, consisted of Shino Aburame, who had a few bugs swarming around him because they were part of his family jutsus, bashful Hinata Hyuga, and dog-loving Kiba Inuzuka, who had his white puppy Akamaru on his head. The other was Team 8, under the leadership of the third Hokage's son, Asuma Sarutobi, and his pupils, Shikamaru Nara, who was clever but lethargic, Ino Yamanaka, and Choji Akamichi, who was obese and constantly eating. Sasuke. I knew you would pass, Ino excitedly said as she rushed to embrace her crush. When Sakura saw her rival embracing their mutual crush, she squinted. When they were younger, she and Ino were friends, but she broke things off so they could vie for Sasuke. She held on to Uchiha as she looked at him and saw that he frowned. Ino. Get off of him, Sakura yelled, her temper rising. Hey, just cause he's on your team doesn't give you the right to have him all to yourself, Ino yelled. Sakura's eyes had been somewhat opened by the recent events that had transpired since the formation of their group. She had assumed that she and the majority of the other girls were in love with the same person, but when she glanced at Ino, she saw someone else. She witnessed a devoted fangirl who allowed one guy to take center stage in her life. She was still envious of Ino's attachment to Sasuke, but she was also a little uneasy about it. It makes sense why Sasuke thought her was bothersome. Hey, I don't think Sasuke likes being hugged by you, exclaimed Sakura. No, I don't, Sasuke said, releasing himself. Ino simply glanced at him and grinned. Oh Sasuke, there's no need to be shy, she exclaimed. Sasuke simply gave a, hey, and turned away, even though he might have explained that he wasn't bashful and that she was just bothersome. So you guys managed to pass, huh? I bet it was as much a drag as our test was, Shikamaru replied. Kiba exclaimed, well, our team passed with flying colors. I just want to get this introduction over with so we can all grab lunch, remarked Choji. Hinata whispered, hi Naruto, as she turned to face the blonde. Huh? Naruto was taken aback by her conversation with him. Sakura gave Hinata a look. Hinata had always struck her as possibly the only girl who had shown Naruto genuine kindness during the academy days. She was clearly fond of him. However, she had always been quite bashful and had never expressed her affections for Sasuke as openly as Sakura or Ino. Well done. All of you have made it as this year's group of 9 ninja, Hiruzen declared. I expect great things from you in the future. Naruto said, oh yeah old man. We're gonna make you proud, alright. I'm ready for danger and to take down some enemy ninja. Iruka reprimanded his former pupil, saying, Naruto, you will not be going up against enemy ninja right now. You and all the others will start out doing D-rank missions. Naruto questioned, D-rank? What are those? They're the easiest missions that don't have much or any risk. Things like gardening or repairing a broken roof on a building, Iruka said. Naruto moaned, those aren't missions. I want to fight something. Other ninja, wild beasts, or something. For once I agree with Naruto, Sasuke remarked. So do I, exclaimed Kiba. Yeah old man, give us something dangerous and exciting, said Naruto. Naruto. Chastised Kakashi. Kurenai called out to her canine pupil, Kiba, in return. They all exclaimed, that's enough, collectively. You have all just become genin. You will be trained by your senseis. They will judge when you are ready to do anything more, Iruka stated. We'll wait at least a few weeks, admitted Kakashi. Then we'll see about doing C-ranked missions. First we will do the D-ranked missions, then we will hone our skills through training. Kiba, Sasuke, and Naruto all had a dejected expression. While Ino merely watched Sasuke with hearts in her eyes, Sakura and Hinata were relieved. Choji simply stood there gripping his stomach while Shino and Shikamaru exhibited no facial expressions. Though no one could see Shino's anyway because he was wearing the glasses that concealed his eyes and the jacket that covered his mouth. He whimpered, come on, I'm hungry. Naruto and Sasuke were not overly happy about the choice, but they were unable to do anything at the moment. The Hokage gave them the D-rank missions that were currently available. Weeding, roof repair, dog walking, and watching some other ninjas' children while their parents were away on a mission for a few days. I guess we could take the babysitting mission, Hinata replied. Well maybe that will be fun at least. Beats boring stuff like pulling weeds, Kiba replied. I'm sure they'd love to play with Akamaru. Ruff! Yelled the puppy. I agree. That's probably the least tedious mission, remarked Shino. But we can't only go for the fun missions. The tedious needs to be done. However, Hinata turned back to Naruto as Kurenai led her team to start their first assignment. Kurenai-sensei. I was thinking. Kurenai asked her squad's most timid member, yes Hinata? Perhaps we could all train together with the other teams as well? Kurenai glanced at the other squads, but she could see Hinata's attention was on Naruto. I suppose some joint training could strengthen all our genin. Kakashi, do you think any of your squad members might be interested? Well, Sakura hasn't displayed any remarkable jutsu yet, though from what I heard she had rather good chakra control and test scores in the academy, stated Kakashi. That's true. I think that we should join each other later tonight. A squad member and I can come and train while the other two stay and watch the kids. Kurenai replied. So, Sakura, how would you like to try and learn to use genjutsu? After a brief pause, Sakura asked, looking at Sasuke, who had always held her attention. What do you think, Sasuke? He responded, do what you want, without showing any interest. I want your attention. Sakura repeated in her mind, do what I want. It was, Naruto, she said. After glancing at her, Naruto shrugged and said, well, perhaps you could try it. Hold on, why couldn't I? Kurenai glanced at him. I'm sorry Naruto, but you lack the characteristics of a genjutsu practitioner. They require excellent chakra control and a gifted mind. You saying I'm not smart? Naruto asked, folding his arms. Kakashi remarked, that would be one way of putting it. Naruto sulked and said, ah man. In Kurenai's words, well, see you later Kakashi. To go to their babysitting job, she and her group of friends moved out. We'll walk the dogs, Asuma replied, but I think we'll do our own training. As Shikamaru put it, man, what a drag, I hope it's just walking. Alright, let's get something to eat then take care of the dogs, remarked Choji. Then Ino waved, bye Sasuke. As the blonde girl left with her team, Sasuke remained silent. Well, we'll take the weeding job then, Kakashi remarked. Right, answered Iruka. After some time of complaining, Naruto came to terms with it. Alright, but I'll go on a real mission real soon. Believe it, he yelled. Sakura glanced at him. He was a nuisance because of his loudness, but he had a sense of self-assurance and never gave up, regardless of how many people denigrated him. They proceeded to the mission site, a house in the hidden leaf with a garden full of lovely flowers and weeds, where the elderly woman who owned the property was waiting. Thank you for coming, dears. I'm just not young enough to pick these weeds anymore with my bad back, stated the woman. Naruto gave her a thumbs up and said, huh, don't worry Granny. We'll get all those weeds out. Believe it. Sakura scowled at him when she heard him refer to the woman as Granny, but she forced a grin at the boy's optimism, and Sasuke even gave him a little smirk. He answered, yeah, those weeds will be gone soon, and he started to pluck them out. Hey, no way you're gonna get more weeds than me. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Naruto stared at him. Sakura let out a groan, sensing that this was not going to end well, as 3 more Narutos showed up and started picking weeds non-stop. Subsequently, she felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to see it was Kakashi. Hey, I want you to keep an eye on Naruto, her sensei added. Huh? Why? She questioned. Let's just say he gets a bit carried away when it comes to Sasuke. He views Sasuke as his rival, you know. Just look at how he's moving. As Sasuke struggled to keep up, she noticed that the Narutos were actually moving swiftly, ripping weeds out at an alarming rate. Naruto then grabbed hold of. Sakura said, no Naruto, don't pull those out. It was too late. Naruto had already removed a flower from the garden's bed, and the other Narutos had also removed a couple of flowers. Sakura slapped him on the head and reprimanded him, saying, you trying to make us lose the money? We have to pull the weeds out, not the flowers, you idiot. Naruto said, sorry, Sakura. The clones had to work slowly since Naruto, being the dummy he was, couldn't discern a weed from a flower. Sasuke grinned. Kakashi helped in removing the weeds. Sakura also contributed, but she kept her eyes on Naruto, all 4 Narutos. He needed to hear Sakura shout, that's a weed. No, that's a flower, see the petals? Well, at least we have the girl with brains to balance the boy without them, observed Kakashi. As he worked, Sasuke simply sighed. Despite Sakura's careful observation, she was unable to keep track of all the Narutos who occasionally became impatient because Sasuke was picking the weeds with perfect technique. And even with all of his clones, he wasn't as wrong and occasionally only got the grass of the weeds rather than the roots. Ultimately, Sasuke prevailed, his pile of weeds being only marginally bigger than Naruto. Sakura grinned as she observed him. He was smarter than Naruto, even though he was colder. She only needed to attempt to get him to notice her, even though the knucklehead with the blonde hair at least tried, and he could be funny. After returning to the academy, they picked up their prize, with the old lady deducting a small amount of 10% for the quantity of flowers Naruto had removed along with the weeds. Well, I suppose that could have been worse, Kakashi responded. Now let's go to train. Though there were only 2 members of Team 8, Kiba and Kurenai, they headed to one of the training grounds. Of course, Akamaru was present, but did he actually count? Alright. Time for some serious training. Hinata and Shino are still babysitting the kids and cooking them dinner, so I get to practice my techniques with you, Sasuke, Kiba yelled. Furious at being disregarded, Naruto said, hey, I'm here too, you know, instead. Yeah right. Dead last like you wouldn't last 2 seconds against me, said Kiba. What? Cried Naruto. Just pipe down, Naruto, Kakashi responded. Alright. Sakura, you go with Kurenai and practice some genjutsu. Then Sakura said, right. She approached the older woman, Kurenai, who was undoubtedly a beautiful woman with her dark hair and the red and white dress. Her eyes were red, but not frightening as they might have appeared on someone else, and they had a warm smile that made Sakura think of a warm heart. However, if they had been glaring, that might have been a different matter. As Kurenai started teaching Sakura how to use genjutsu, Naruto, Sasuke, and Kiba started dueling. It uses the yin chakra, and can allow you to confuse, immobilize, or fool your enemies, stated Kurenai. Like so. After making a brief series of hand gestures, she abruptly disappeared. Demon tree binding. Sakura could still see and watched as Kurenai approached her with a raised kunai, but then a tree appeared out of the ground around her, wrapping its legs around her as she screamed. If you were an enemy, I'd use this opportunity to stab you, said Kurenai. But I can also use it for interrogation. This technique has been passed down for generations in the village. Sakura looked in awe as the tree released her and disappeared. It had never even existed. Kurenai then showed her the hand signals for the jutsu. Dog, snake, monkey, ox, tiger. Sakura practiced the sequence a few times before performing it, and when roots burst from the ground, they wrapped themselves around Kurenai, who grinned. Well done, Sakura. You may make a good user of genjutsu yet. With a smile of her own, Sakura returned her attention to Naruto and Sasuke sparring with Kiba, or rather, Sasuke sparring both of them. If one counts Akamaru, all 3 of them were involved. The puppy was knocked back almost as easily as Naruto, but Kiba was more skilled at the moment, and Naruto hadn't used any shadow clones that Sakura could see. The boys were all panting and sweating. How did it go with Sakura? Kakashi exclaimed. Okay, that's enough. I think she has potential in genjutsu. She's learned a jutsu already, Kurenai stated. Naruto commended her, saying, wow, great job, Sakura. Sakura had hoped that if she at least learned a technique or 2, Sasuke would be thrilled, but he only grunted and turned away. After letting out a sigh, she forced a grin and turned to face Naruto, saying, thanks, Naruto. Her inner voice remarked, well, he's definitely more supportive than Sasuke. Maybe we should give him a chance. Perhaps, she thought. I have a scroll of some at home that I think I will give her. But Sakura, don't limit yourself to any one branch of shinobi skill, urged Kurenai. Right. Thank you, sensei, Sakura replied, and they all went out. When they saw their objective, the genin of Team 7 walked discreetly through the forest, and Naruto scurried to capture it. Ryo. As it scratched him all over, Naruto screamed in agony, OWW, OWW, ow, ow. Lost pet, Tora, retrieved, Sasuke said to Kakashi, who was farther up the path, via his radio. As Tora screamed in agony, the fire daimyo's wife, who owned the cat, covered her pet in an embrace as they returned to the academy to finish their job. Sakura felt sorry for the cat and understood why Tora fled, but Naruto believed the little monster should be crushed. Then he turned to face Iruka and Hiruzen. Enough of these lame missions. I want to go a real one and prove myself, Naruto said. These are a joke. He has a point, Sasuke reflected. Sakura said, Naruto, we're not prepared for anything more difficult. Maybe you're not, Sasuke replied. But I could probably handle a higher level mission by myself. I don't need you, or Naruto. You probably need more experience with these so-called missions. Sakura, who looked down in sorrow, was hurt by his remarks. They had been going on missions for almost a month, and he still hadn't broken out of his shell or even given her a friendly greeting. Her inner self remarked, Naruto has been nice to us, but maybe it's time we move on. Sasuke is cool and all, but he's so cold-hearted. Sakura was at a loss for what to do. Naruto was a complete moron. Sasuke was cold-hearted, but at least he was powerful and intelligent. Hey, we all need to work as a team, so you could lose the attitude, Naruto said. If you can do it, so can I. Sakura let out a sigh, since Naruto never succeeded in outperforming Sasuke. Naruto. Sasuke. That's enough, Iruka responded. You will remain on your D-rank missions until your Jonin-sensei sees you as capable of taking the next step. Well, I think they actually might be able to handle a C-rank mission, Kakashi stated. All right, because you're so eager, I should have someone outside who needs to be protected from thugs. An elderly man with short gray hair, glasses, and a hat over his head entered a moment later. He held a bottle of beer in his hand, which he sipped from, and after giving them a quick glance, he. This is the best you can do? A bunch of snot-nosed kids? I paid good money and just look at what I get. And you're the ward with that idiotic look on your face. He was indicating Naruto, who became enraged at once. That's it, I'm gonna demolish you, you old drunk. You can't demolish the client, Naruto. We are supposed to protect him, Kakashi said, grabbing him. They all returned home to gather their belongings and pack for an expedition that might take a month or longer. Naruto raged. Sakura had thought it was a juvenile behavior, but she had to agree that he was a little nasty to someone who was meant to be protecting him. When Sakura got home, she informed her parents, Kazashi and Mibuki. Well, that's certainly early to get a C-ranked mission. You haven't been a genin for even a month yet. Kazashi responded. Back when I first became a genin, they wouldn't let me go on one for over 2 years. Mibuki smiled at her daughter and remarked, well, good for you, dear. And how are things going with your teammates? Not well, Sakura admitted. Naruto is always trying to best Sasuke, and that usually gets him or all of us into trouble. Mibuki questioned, he hasn't done anything to hurt you though, has he? Sakura was amazed and exclaimed, what? No, why would he do that? Mibuki remarked, well, I just heard he is a troublemaker. Sakura turned to face her father, who was largely quiet. Sakura laughed as she revealed Naruto's pitiful attempts at transformation and clones. Yes, he was a prankster. He'd always cut class, never paid attention, and his jutsu was terrible. But that all changed the day of the exam, Sakura remarked. Mibuki remarked, well, I just want to be careful around him. Sakura sighed. Mom, what did he ever do to you? Sure, he's annoying at times, but I don't think he's harmful. Hey, that boy has. Mibuki, Kazashi exclaimed abruptly. His wife groaned and shut her mouth. Well, I think we better change the subject. How's your other teammate? It's the boy you like, right? Sasuke. I used to like him so much, but now I'm not so sure. He's handsome, cool, and strong, but he is just so cold. Well, you know, there are a lot of boys out there in not only this village but the entire world as well, Mibuki replied. I had about 6 boyfriends before I finally decided to date your father. Since Sasuke had been her only interest since she was 7 years old, Sakura had never really thought about dating other boys. Why had she fallen in love with him? Yeah, no one really wanted to date me since I was still a genin, Kazashi replied. I'm probably gonna be that for the rest of my life. Ah well, I don't have the raw ability to be a jonin or higher. You'll be lucky to ever advance to chunin. Sakura sighed, that didn't do much to lift her spirits. There were several remarkable clans in the Leaf with their own special abilities passed down from generations. The Harunos were just a civilian clan that didn't have anything like that. Many of her academy classmates had abilities from their clans specifically. The Naras had the ability to manipulate shadows with their chakra, the Akamichi had the ability to manipulate their bodies, and her friend Ino's Yamanaka clan had the ability to manipulate minds. Sasuke's clan was reportedly one of the most powerful in the Leaf Village, at least until its downfall. Kurenai-sensei's squad all came from clans with special talents. Did he even come from a clan? Naruto had to get his last name from somewhere. Her mother questioned, Sakura, oh sorry mom. I spaced out. Just thinking of all my classmates. All the ones that made it to genin have really cool abilities that they got from their families. I've seen them in our joint training sessions. Well, a lot of those kids come from families that have been shinobi for a long time. I was the first member of our clan to become a shinobi. We were just merchants before I joined that business. Sakura gave a nod. Well, even if you didn't get any real special abilities from us, that doesn't make you have any less potential, Mibuki said. You just have to find something to practice. Then maybe you can pass it on to your children someday when get married. Sakura grinned, and then a vision came to her mind. She had always imagined herself and Sasuke together when she thought about marriage, but now the image next to her in her mind had no features, but she did see a particular blonde with whisker lines on his smiling face. Sakura trembled a little, but she was not going to marry him. She liked him more now, but not that much. Her inner self reminded her that if he keeps impressing her, she might date him. Sakura bit her lip, finished her dinner, and went to pack her things because she wasn't always sure what Naruto was like and needed some time to think about her feelings for Sasuke. Should she just give up on him and try to find someone else? She couldn't give up yet, and an image of Sasuke's attractive face came to mind. This mission, Sakura stated resolutely, I'll make a decision after this mission. Let me try speaking with Sasuke tomorrow first. Having made up her mind, she retired to her bed. She had an hour before she and her crew were to meet Tazuna at the gate, so she had to speak with Sasuke now. The following day, she had breakfast with her family, grabbed her rucksack that she had prepared for the lengthy expedition, and set off. After walking to the Uchiha compound, she knocked on the door, and Sasuke answered. Sakura, he said neutrally to his teammate. Hi Sasuke, she said. I just wanted to talk to you real quick in private before the mission. Sasuke gave her a small scowl. HMPH, alright, what is it? You know that I like you, right? Replied Sakura. You said I was annoying and I've tried not to bother you too much this past month. I was wondering if maybe I have other things to worry about besides girls right now, Sasuke bluntly stated. Maybe once I avenge my clan I'll be open to something like that, but right now I don't need any distractions from my training. You spent all that time in the academy fawning over me instead of trying to make yourself strong. But I'll say that I like you a bit better now. You might not be totally useless as a teammate. You're learning genjutsu and you're smart. But I'm not looking for anything like that right now. His remarks caused Sakura's eyes to water, and she gripped her backpack straps firmly. She started to sniffle and said, I understand Sasuke. Well, I hope I can at least be a worthy comrade to you. He didn't respond, so she left and wiped her eyes at the rejection. Sakura sobbed for a while before noticing him approaching from his house while carrying his own backpack. She sighed and got up, realizing that he wouldn't be interested in girls until he exacted revenge on his clan, which could take months or even years. Sakura couldn't wait for him all day. Naruto was yelling at their client at the gate, and she followed Sasuke there. You just wait, old man, I'm gonna be the greatest Hokage and then you'll have to worship me. Huh. When you become Hokage I'll sprout wings and fly, it's never gonna happen. Why you I'm gonna, was Naruto's outburst. You can't attack the client Naruto. Pipe down, exclaimed Kakashi as he descended and seized him. Hey Sakura, I'd like you to stay close to Naruto on this mission, he said, glancing at her. Huh? Why? Inquired Sakura. He's strong but dumb. You're weak but smart, Kakashi stated. You two can balance each other out. They started their journey and went out to the land of waves, going through the forest with Tazuna. Sakura sighed as she looked at Naruto, who she no longer felt as irritated with as she once did and whom she thought of as a friend. Perhaps this way she could prevent him from making foolish mistakes. Together with Tazuna, Team 7 navigated the forest beyond the leaves. The woodland was quiet, but Sakura was afraid they may encounter enemy ninja. However, Kakashi reassured her that this was simply a C-rank mission and that wouldn't be the case. As they went on, Sakura inquired about the region of waves and discovered that it was a fishing place with no ninja. They also learned about the Cage title, which was bestowed upon the strongest shinobi in the village and existed in the 5 shinobi kingdoms. Of course, the Hokage was part of that. Sakura exclaimed, wow, Lord Hokage must be really great then, out loud. Yeah, her inner voice said. That's not possible for him. Naruto was also doubtful. He's nothing exceptional, but I got him with my gorgeous jutsu. Although Kakashi could see they had secretly disapproved of their leader, Sasuke remained silent. Kakashi exclaimed, you all just insulted Lord Hokage, didn't you? Well, I'll have you know he may be old but he is still much stronger than all of you combined. Sakura and Naruto were alarmed by this, however, they kept going until they came to a puddle of water. The genin did not give it any mind, but Kakashi gave the puddle a suspicious look. Those fears were confirmed a few moments later when 2 ninja emerged from the puddle behind them. They each wore cloaks and hefty gauntlets on one hand, which were joined by a long, spiked chain. They also wore headbands bearing the Hidden Mist's emblem, 3 tiny lines. However, they also wore demon-like horns on their headbands. Because they both had dark hair and were referred to as the Demon Brothers. As the genin whirled around in confusion, one of them threw the other through the chain and wrapped around Kakashi. Their sensei appeared to be sliced to pieces by the razor edges of the chains before they could respond. Sasuke maintained a composed demeanor, not even responding to their sensei's apparent death, while Naruto and Sakura both wore looks of shock and terror. Kakashi-sensei, said Naruto. The enemy ninja materialized on either side of him as soon as he finished speaking. "It's your turn now," they shouted, laughing menacingly. The sharpened chain whirled, poised to encircle the still Naruto. But Sasuke was prepared. With a precise throw of a shuriken and kunai, he disabled the chain and kept Naruto from being cut to pieces. The chain broke as Sasuke kicked both ninja away after landing on their shoulders. While one of them charged at Tazuna, the other went after Naruto once more. Thinking immediately, Sakura placed herself between his would-be killer and the bridge builder. Then, with his arms outstretched as if he were prepared to deliver a fatal blow for his friend, Sasuke positioned himself in front of her. But even as the clawed gauntlet stabbed at him, Naruto remained motionless. Bomb! Kakashi reappeared with one ninja locked under each arm after both were abruptly knocked unconscious. With the exception of a few scratches from the ninja's claws on his palm, Naruto had been knocked off his feet, not too badly. Sakura took a sigh of relief, then she saw Naruto's wound. She ran over to Naruto and said, "Naruto, are you alright?" "Sorry Naruto, didn't mean for you to get hurt. I just didn't expect you to freeze up like that," Kakashi replied. "Good job Sasuke, you too Sakura." Sakura grinned at her sensei's compliment, but as she glanced at Naruto's hand, her face once more became concerned. Her words were, "Let me see that." He gave her his hand and blushed when she accepted it. She remarked, "Well, it doesn't look serious," with another sense of relief. Naruto's look remained one of frustration. While he had frozen in terror, Sasuke had remained composed and battled as if he had done this 1,000 times. How could he possibly overtake his opponent? Sasuke glanced at Naruto and said, "Hey." "Yeah?" inquired Naruto. Sasuke smirked and said, "You're not hurt, are you?" before saying, "Scaredy cat." Sakura gave Sasuke a disapproving glance after Naruto gritted his teeth. "Hey Sasuke. No need to be mean about it," she said. For an instant, Naruto gazed at her in astonishment. Was she merely protecting him from Sasuke? Her long-term crush on whom she had been fixated? He felt a little happy about that, but it didn't make up for the rage he felt at Sasuke's slur. "Yeah. Why you Iota?" Naruto stared at Sasuke and started to hop about angrily. The words, "Naruto don't move," came from Kakashi. Those ninja had poison in their claws. Sakura displayed yet another anxious look as Naruto froze one more. After they restrained the ninja, Kakashi attacked Tazuna, who had requested ordinary protection from thugs but not from ninja. The expense of that protection would have been higher. This was clearly out of their price range. Concerned about both it and Naruto's wound, Sakura recommended that they return to the village. Tazuna cast a downward glance. "If you leave me now, I'll be dead before I can return to my homeland. I asked for what I could afford cause I had no other options. The land of waves is very poor. I hope to change that with the bridge I'm building." Kakashi looked at him apologetically. "I say we go on," exclaimed Naruto, still repulsed by his earlier cowardly freezing. Sakura let out a startled gasp. "But, Naruto, I agree. This mission is just getting interesting," Sasuke replied. Sakura remained silent despite her uncertainty. "Alright then, I guess if you two are determined to press on," Kakashi responded. "But first we need to treat Naruto's wound." Naruto used his kunai to stab the wound in order to remove the poison before Kakashi or anybody else could intervene. As he promised to stay up with Sasuke and never run away or freeze up again, blood drenched the ground at his feet. Sakura grabbed his hand and got blood on hers, saying, "Naruto stop." "Well, that should get the poison out but we need to stop the bleeding or you'll die of blood loss," Kakashi stated. Sakura hastily dug into her backpack for a washcloth as Naruto yelled, got it wet in the pool that was left behind, and wrapped it over Naruto's hand, applying pressure to attempt to stop the bleeding. To her surprise, however, the blood ceased. Sakura carefully washed his palm before examining the cut. "Well, that was quick, but we better get a bandage on the wound," she replied. Only to discover that there was no injury. Sakura raised it up into the sun to make it visible and asked, "What? It's gone." "Huh?" Naruto looked. "Wow, Sakura, thanks for the nice care." "That wasn't me," she said, shaking her head. "It shouldn't be possible for wounds to heal so quickly." She turned to face Kakashi, who appeared unsurprised, as if he had already worked something out. He reasoned that it must be the nine-tailed fox's chakra. Sakura turned to face Naruto and said, "I'm not sure how. However, I'm happy you're alright, Naruto." Naruto blushed, but they went on, and the rest of their trip to the land of waves went smoothly. When they saw the bridge, Tazuna told them that Gato of Gato Company was pursuing him. Gato is a short man with a long, evil shadow who had taken over the seas, which controlled the revenue in this fishing land. As a result, the land of waves was impoverished, but the bridge could reopen trade and break Gato's hold on it. At first, it seemed like Naruto was merely attempting to be cool in order to outdo Sasuke, but soon. Bam! Naruto and Sakura ducked as a sword, a huge weapon that resembled a giant knife more than anything else, flew at them. The blow struck a tree, and the person who threw it landed on the handle. The man had the same headband as the two previous ones, had shorter black hair, and was big and heavily muscled. His lower face, which included his mouth and nose, was covered in bandages. He wore a sleeveless black shirt, matching pants, and a pair of light purple armbands with vertical stripes. Well, if it isn't Zabuza Momochi, rogue ninja from the village hidden in the mist. Naruto listened, but he didn't care. He would defeat whatever this guy was. He moved to strike, but Kakashi stopped him with a hand. He's not like the other two. You're in the way. He's in a whole different league, Kakashi remarked. Like me, this one is a Jonin. Return and defend the bridge builder, everyone. No wonder the Demon Brothers failed in their mission, Zabuza said, glancing at Kakashi. It's the Sharingan's Kakashi. Sasuke froze, thinking, Sharingan? Then he grabbed his eye patch, headband and said, I will need this if he is our opponent. Sasuke told Naruto about the Sharingan, the inherited ability that allowed one to see chakra and jutsu, which allowed a ninja to copy the techniques they saw, but there was more to it. He showed Naruto his other eye, which was an unnatural red color with 3 black tomo surrounding it. He knew about the Sharingan because it was a jutsu that was exclusive to his own clan, or should have been, and he wondered inwardly how Kakashi possessed it, but it wasn't the right moment to inquire. When the two Jonin started fighting, Zabuza used a jutsu called the Hidden Mist Jutsu, which caused mist to appear and limited their vision, and then he and Kakashi started fighting, using water clones one after the other. The first clone went for Tazuna, but Kakashi caught it and stabbed him, causing him to bleed water before dispersing, and then a second Zabuza appeared from behind Kakashi and sliced him in two before turning into water as well. The real Kakashi then appeared from behind and put his kunai to this Zabuza's throat, giving them the impression that the battle was over, but Zabuza laughed, and his enemies soon realized it was just another water clone. Water fashion. Jutsu water prison, Zabuza yelled. No. Kakashi shouted. He was immediately ensnared in a floating sphere of water, leaving Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke to fight alone. Unable to contain Kakashi and fight them himself, Zabuza created a water clone to handle the genin, and even Sasuke was no match for the much more experienced Jonin. Kakashi told them to run, and they nearly did, but Naruto turned and stood against the water clone Zabuza sent on them. Sasuke did the same, understanding that this was their only option because if they left, Zabuza would simply kill Kakashi and then pursue them. Naruto commanded, Sakura, defend Tazuna. Sasuke, pay attention, I have a strategy. Sakura and Sasuke were both taken aback by this. The Pinkette placed herself in front of Tazuna, hoping Naruto's plan would succeed. Her genjutsu might have been helpful, but someone had to defend him. After making numerous shadow clones, Naruto threw something at Sasuke, who gasped and turned coolly. He revealed the object to be the Demon Wind Shuriken, a larger and more lethal shuriken, which Sasuke threw at Zabuza, who caught it, only for a second one to appear later. Sakura thought it would work, but Zabuza dodged it, and it flew behind him before turning into Naruto. The blonde then threw a kunai directly at Zabuza's head. After escaping the killing blow with only a minor scrape on his face, Zabuza proceeded to strike Naruto by spinning the shuriken. I'll murder you. As he got closer, he shouted. Because he was unable to stand on water, Naruto was powerless, but Kakashi intervened to save his genin. Kakashi responded, your battle is with me, obstructing the shuriken's blade. The strategy had succeeded. Zabuza had removed his hand from the water prison that held Kakashi after Naruto's strike. Kakashi complimented his genin, Naruto, that was an excellent plan you had, without averting his gaze from Zabuza. Many thanks, sensei. Even though I knew I couldn't defeat him, I could divert his attention. Naruto uttered those words. Don't fool yourself, said Zabuza, I was simply irresponsible. No, Kakashi remarked, you had to let go. Where were we now? Zabuza gritted his teeth as he realized Kakashi was copying every single jutsu he did thanks to his Sharingan. He tried one last trick, but Kakashi used it even faster and sent a small tsunami at Zabuza. It looked over as the technique was about to drown him, but then Zabuza was struck with a pair of needles to the neck. That had to kill him. The two Jonin resumed their duel, leaping away from one another and performing a lengthy series of hand signs. The murderer, a young man wearing a mask with the same design as Zabuza's headband, was visible to Team 7 as they peered up into the trees. The ninja said, "Thank you," adding, "I've been following Zabuza for a while. I have the chance to defeat him because of your battle." His abrupt presence startled everyone, and Naruto was upset when he joined the others after exiting the water. "Judging by your mask, I'd say you're a tracker ninja from the village hidden in the mist," Kakashi stated. "According to the ninja, that is correct." "Aha, a tracker," Naruto made the accusation. Kakashi remarked, "Easy Naruto, he's on our side. That's not the point. Zabuza was incredibly strong and required a lot of effort to take down, but this man brought him down as if he were nothing. He's really short," Naruto yelled. "Naruto, in this line of business you'll find there are people who are younger than you but stronger than me," stated Kakashi. Not much older than Naruto, the tracker ninja they were currently facing sounded youthful, but judging by the manner he would target the neck, he was quite strong and precise. The tracker then lifted Zabuza's corpse over his shoulder. "I'll dispose of the body, thank you again," and he was gone as fast as he had appeared. "All right, now that's finished." Kakashi's vision became hazy and he broke off. "I must have used my Sharingan too often." As he started to lose his equilibrium and fell, he thought. "Sensei," said Naruto. They had to keep going. The genin followed, and Tazuna assisted in carrying Kakashi the remainder of the way to his home. Sakura gave Naruto a look, saying, "Hey Naruto, great job back there." Sakura grinned. "You're not a complete idiot after all." With a flush, Naruto exclaimed, "Aw, thanks Sakura." In the hopes that they would all survive this, she blushed back. After arriving at Tazuna's house, Team 7 took a break. After lying in bed for a few days, Kakashi eventually woke up, although "Must have overused my Sharingan. Great, I won't be able to move normally for a week," Kakashi responded. In a female voice, the words, "You better rest then," were spoken. "I'm Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter." Kakashi noticed a woman with black eyes and hair. His group entered the room. Naruto said, "Hey, the sensei is coming around. You know, sensei, your Sharingan is great and all, but if it puts that much pressure on you maybe it's not worth it," replied Sakura. "Sorry to make it hard on you guys, but I only use it when really necessary," Kakashi stated. Naruto remarked, "Well, at least we got rid of Zabuza. Hopefully Gato doesn't have any more powerful ninja," Sasuke replied. "'Cause we won't be able to hold them off by ourselves right now." "Yeah, though I can't help but feel something is amiss," responded Kakashi. Unable to keep awake, he fell asleep. He worked it out after a few more hours of sleep. "Guys, we got trouble. I don't think Zabuza is dead." Sakura and Naruto exclaimed, "What? But we saw him." His heart stopped. "Yes, but that was just a trick. The tracker used Senbon, which can rarely kill. They're designed to incapacitate. He wasn't trying to kill Zabuza, he was trying to save him." Sakura and Naruto both trembled. Sasuke didn't display any signs of fear. "So, that stands to reason that we will meet Zabuza again. And if I'm right, then the tracker, or more likely, the man in the mask who wears a tracker mask, will be with him. We don't know what sort of jutsu possesses, so we will need to be prepared for anything. I will train you all." Sakura reminded him, "But sensei, you said you can't move for a week." Kakashi remarked, "I can still move enough to show you a few things." "All right. Look out Zabuza, Masked Man, Gato. We're gonna train hard and bring you all down. Believe it," Naruto said. Abruptly, someone raised their voice. "I don't believe it, nothing around here is gonna change." They noticed a young boy wearing a cap. His eyes were glaring at them. "Inari!" yelled Tsunami in a reprimanding voice. Tazuna said, "Inari," in a kind voice. "Grandpa, you're back," the youngster said as he hurried to embrace Tazuna. Tsunami reprimanded her son, "Inari, that was very rude. These are the ninja that have protected our grandfather. Grandpa, you should them back home or they're gonna die," stated Inari. The words, "No way, we're gonna head back," were spoken by Naruto. "We never give up." "You're simply going to die," Inari exclaimed. "Grandpa, please stop making the bridge. Gato might let you live if you do." Tazuna remarked, "I can't do that, Inari. If I stop now things will never have a chance to get better." "They won't anyway," Inari said as she hurried away. "Heroes don't exist." He disappeared into a different room. Naruto frowned as he looked after him. Kakashi led his group into the woods while walking on crutches. Okay, we're gonna need to grow stronger if we are going to face Zabuza again. Even though he is alive, he'll need time to recover same as me. But we can't waste any time. You've all grown stronger, especially you Naruto. Naruto smiled. Alright, so what are we gonna do? We're going to learn better chakra control. I'm gonna show you an exercise to do that. Climb a tree. Naruto and Sakura yelled, climb a tree, before turning away after blushing at one another. Kakashi declared, there's just one rule, no hands. They were baffled by that. Sakura questioned, how can we climb trees without using our hands? Watch, said Kakashi. To the genin's astonishment, he approached the closest tree and, using crutches, started to climb it using only his feet. He tossed 3 kunai down in front of them after he was on a branch. Use the kunai to mark the spot where you were able to climb, he advised them. Concentrate your chakra into your feet. You'll need to apply the right amount of chakra or it won't work. They hurried to another tree, picking up the kunai. As soon as Naruto lifted both feet off the ground, he immediately plummeted back down. Sasuke was able to ascend a few paces before he struck a tree crack and was pushed back down. Before he dropped, he swiftly cut the bark to mark the location, and he landed on his feet without incident. Sasuke applied too much chakra, damaging the tree, while Naruto applied just enough to enable himself to ascend. Regarding Sakura. Hey, this is much fun, exclaimed Sakura. After successfully scaling the tree and inserting her kunai, she leapt onto a branch and gazed down at her crew. She was told by Naruto, hey, great job, Sakura. As Sakura put it, thanks Naruto, in some way, Naruto's compliment warmed her heart even if she had intended to impress Sasuke. He might not be as good as Naruto. Her inner voice said. In addition to being much friendlier and funnier, he may not be as strong or cool. Sakura was able to run up the tree multiple times as they continued their training, but she was soon worn out. Although they were less adept at managing their chakra usage, Naruto and Sasuke possessed far more chakra stores than she had. Naruto didn't advance at all for a while. Even though he was able to climb higher in the tree, Sasuke also had trouble with it. He turned to Sakura in frustration and approached her. Hey, you're good at this, how about some advice? She was taken aback because she didn't expect he would ask her for guidance. He went on, just don't tell Sasuke please. He must not want to appear as though he required assistance, Sakura reasoned. Alright, she replied. Sasuke looked at them, but neither of them saw it. Alright, chakra requires spiritual energy, so if you get all anxious and frantic it doesn't work. Relax and totally focus on the chakra flow in the bottoms of your feet. That's how you get a steady chakra flow to climb the tree. Sakura was tasked with watching after Tazuna while he built the bridge because she was the greatest at scaling trees. Given that it was almost finished, Gato would probably need to act quickly. Apart from Tazuna shooting a worker who pushed him to quit so he might escape alive, Sakura was happy that nothing else happened. Unfortunately, she witnessed the extremely low food supply in the shop, the people holding signs seeking employment, and the hungry children sitting in the streets one day when she went with Tazuna to the store. She understood that they needed to assist these individuals. At the store, someone attempted to steal her bag, but she kicked him because she thought he was attempting to touch her butt. She recalled her childhood, strolling around the leaf streets with her mother. When Sakura first met Naruto, she remembered thinking he was depressed, but her mother glanced at him and said. Mibuki Haruno led her away and exclaimed, let's leave, and get away from him, while doing so. She had been impressionable and young at the time. She then questioned why it appeared that everyone, even her mother, detested Naruto. Because she believed he was only interfering with her and Sasuke's relationship, she had also become influenced and disliked him. However, she was now aware that he had not done anything similar. She had never been of interest to Sasuke. Sakura felt someone hold her on the walk home. She turned to attack again, but all she saw was a small girl begging for food. She saw the child and was reminded of Naruto once more. She gave him some of the little food she and Tazuna had acquired from the store, if that could be called that given how almost empty it was, and wished she could have done something kind for him when he had been younger. They discovered over dinner that Gato had slain Inari's father, Kaiza, who had been a hero in the land of waves, when he first came. The land's morale had been ruined by this, and they bowed to Gato. Inari was severely traumatized by it. As the days went by, Naruto woke up from a night of training to see a stunning female standing above him. He believed she was more attractive than Sakura. She was carrying a basket and was probably only a few years older than him. You should be careful, Sleeping out here you could catch a cold. Naruto snorted. Perhaps she was correct. Guess I just trained so hard I passed out and slept till morning. I see while out gathering herbs for an ill friend. He needs them to recover, she stated. Why are you training so hard? Well, I have to outdo someone and become strong so I can become Hokage someday. Hokage, I've heard of that. You're from the Leaf Village then, she replied. Naruto gave a nod. You know, something that has made me strong is having someone to protect. He gazed at her and considered what she had said. Someone to protect. Yes, when you have someone precious to you, it makes you stronger. If you fight only for yourself, then what do you have that's worth fighting for? Naruto considered what she had said. Well, I do have my team, Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke and Sakura. The woman inquired, are they precious to you? Well, not sure. I mean Sasuke and I kinda hate each other and always compete. But Sakura, man, she is just beautiful. She used to always belittle me, but now she's been nicer. I kinda like her. Well, if she is precious to you, then protect her at least. Hey Naruto. A voice that was familiar cried out. Sakura, he cried out. Soon she was there, looking scornfully. It's breakfast. Kakashi-sensei sent me to find you, she said. Oh right. Naruto said as he stood up and turned to face the girl again. Bye. Goodbye. She told him. Sakura questioned, who's that? As Naruto rushed at her. Naruto informed her, oh, just some girl that woke me up while I was gathering herbs. She yelled at him, actually, I'm a boy, as she stood up carrying her basket. Huh. Oh. No way, incredulously, Naruto said. He's prettier than you, Sakura. Sakura narrowed her eyes and flushed at that. Since Naruto had repeatedly tried to ask her out, she was flattered that he thought she was attractive. Or used to, anyway. Except for the first day after they became a team, he hadn't done anything like that. While he was suggesting that this guy was more attractive than her, she felt a twinge of envy. She glanced at the lad in the girl's clothes. She questioned, who are you? The boy remarked, someone you will likely meet again. Wait. Sakura had heard that voice before, and the boy's dark hair was definitely the same color, albeit in a different style. You're the one in the mask that saved Zabuza. Huh? Cried Naruto. He grinned and remarked, you guessed it. You're sharp there. Well, I will be leaving with these herbs. I won't attack you, but I will have to soon once Zabuza is recovered. He turned and started to leave. Naruto started to follow, but Sakura stopped him. Hey, come back, he said. We don't know if we can win against him, she replied. If he has an Anbu tracker mask, he probably killed the one it belonged to. Anbu are just as strong as Jonin or even stronger. We can't win against him. Let's get back to the house and tell Sensei. Despite his desire to object, Naruto realized Sakura was more intelligent than him. He did as she said. After returning home, they located Kakashi and informed him. Well, good thing he decided to let you two go, Kakashi remarked. But he is still our enemy. Be on guard. Sakura and Kakashi, who could now walk without crutches, went to the woods a few days later, where the lads were still practicing diligently. She was shocked to see Naruto standing on a branch about halfway up the tree. Wow, you were able to climb that high, Naruto? That's great, exclaimed Sakura. Kakashi remarked, you're getting better. Naruto suddenly appeared to be about to fall. He swayed to one side and yelled, and Sakura yelled, but it was a phony one, as he dangled upside down from his feet. He exclaimed, ha ha, got ya. Sakura screamed, wanting to run up there and smack Naruto. Naruto, we were worried about you, she said. Naruto abruptly stopped flowing chakra, causing his feet to detach from the tree. Sakura let out a shriek. Naruto. She cried out. Sasuke jumped to that tree faster than anyone could see and landed on the branch where Naruto had been lying on his back. Before the blonde lad could fall to the ground, he grabbed Naruto by the ankles. Phew, exhaled Sakura with relief. Go Sasuke, nice catch. Sasuke was still awesome, even though she was beginning to lean more toward Naruto. Oh well. It will be a miracle if I remain sane when I complete their training, Kakashi pondered. At last, Naruto and Sasuke were staring at one another from the tops of their trees as night fell one evening. Dinner was prepared at Tazuna's house, so they returned there. Naruto said, we did it, we made it to the top. Everyone was happy with this. It was time to get started. They would all defend Tazuna tomorrow. The bridge would be finished in a few more days. Inari was the only one unhappy. Why? Why are you doing all this? All that training and cool stuff you talk about, it's all just a waste. Gato has a whole army and he'll beat and kill you just like he did my father. Nothing's gonna change. This isn't your land, so why can't you just butt out? You have no idea what it's like to be treated like dirt. Naruto lost his temper. Listen to yourself whining and complaining, you're nothing but a coward. Inari gulped. Sakura reprimanded, Naruto, you went too far. Silently, Naruto stood up and left. Sakura exclaimed, hey wait, and stood up to follow. Naruto remained silent. Sakura merely gazed at him. Sasuke also joined them. As they gazed up at the stars, the team stood silently. The hush was finally shattered. Naruto remarked, I used to feel so hopeless, so alone, but I don't anymore since I'm on this team with you two. At that, Sakura grinned. I'm glad, Naruto. I feel like I've changed as well. I was so mean to you back in the academy, but I've been trying to be nicer. I know, Sakura, Naruto declared. The words, you're not a loser you know, came from Sasuke. Not completely anyway. You did manage to get to the top, and as much as I hate to admit it, you have grown the most out of all of us. Still a pretty big loser though. And competing against you gave me some extra resolve to work harder. After saying, yeah same for me Sasuke, Naruto said. And I won't be a loser forever. Someday I'm gonna beat you. Sasuke smirked and exclaimed, hey, I'm getting stronger too you know, and I'm not gonna lose to you. Yeah, bring it on, said Naruto. Tomorrow we're gonna guard Tazuna, and whenever Zabuza and Gato show up we'll beat the crap out of them. Sakura gave him a smile. Naruto had such a cheerful disposition. He never gave up. She had the feeling that they would be fine no matter what. She looked from Sasuke to Naruto and asked herself, which one? Sasuke was cool, but chilly most of the time. He had previously rejected her and would only think about dating her, or any lady, really, after he had his retribution. Sakura pictured each of her comrades in the future now that she has come to know them. She imagined two possible outcomes, one of which was that she was Sasuke's wife. While he was an expert ninja who went on risky, high-paying missions to support his family, she would primarily be a housewife, taking care of the house and the children. However, she had a hunch he wouldn't be home frequently, even if she only imagined it. He wouldn't kiss her while he was only concerned with his kids' ninja careers. She felt incomplete and alone at the concept. Then Naruto appeared to be as radiant as a ray of sunshine. Every time he saw her, a smile sprang to his face. Then she remembered some of the things Sasuke had spoken to her just before he kissed her. Sakura, you have such a charming forehead. It makes me want to kiss it, he'd stated. Sorry, that's the kind of thing Naruto would say. And in a decade or so, she could see him doing precisely that. They'd be older. She saw a picture of Naruto at that moment and thought he was attractive. She now acknowledged that he didn't appear all that ugly, despite the fact that he was a fool. She also pictured him realizing his desire. Every night, dressed in the Hokage's robe, he would return home to her and give her a forehead kiss. The thought made her flush. Sakura would giggle and watch lovingly as he played with the children, smiling. It would be so bright to live with him. Well, I suppose it's Naruto. Sakura pondered. Sasuke remarked, well, I think we better get some sleep. After nodding, Sakura and Naruto retired to their rooms. The rest would be necessary for tomorrow's events. Naruto was lying in his chamber. After pushing himself hard the night before, Kakashi made the decision that Sakura would stay with Naruto while he and Sasuke continued to accompany Tazuna to the bridge. As he had intended, they would remain together to counterbalance one another. Sakura's intelligence and Naruto's strength. As the blonde slept soundly there, the pink-haired Kunoichi gazed at him. Sakura thought, Naruto, you've been working so hard. Until we arrive, I hope Sasuke and Kakashi-sensei will be alright. Just take it easy. With some slobber on his face, Naruto snored. Sakura felt the want to rouse him up by slapping him. She did not, however. She would allow him another half hour or so once the irritation subsided, and then they would go to the bridge to support the others. Sakura was certain they would be alright till Naruto woke up and they arrived because she knew Sasuke and Kakashi were the strongest warriors of all of them. Sakura couldn't help but notice Naruto's slight cuteness. It seemed a little juvenile, but it fit him as the knucklehead he was, especially with his brilliant blonde hair and black nightcap with an animal motif. The blue eyes opened after she sat there for a while. Naruto stretched and sat up. Good morning, Sakura, he said with a kind greeting. The sweet greeting made her smile and made her heart skip a beat. Morning, Naruto. She was reminded by her inner self that Sasuke never greets us in such manner in the morning. It's unbelievable that we ever adored a man so aloof. Naruto said. Hey, where is everybody? Kakashi-sensei decided to let you sleep in a little, Sakura informed him. You worked really hard so you earned it. Come on, get dressed. I can heat up some breakfast that was left for you and then we can go to the bridge to join them. Naruto reddened. Is Sakura preparing his breakfast? I guess he's still dreaming. This was real, he thought, pinching himself. Was she falling for him? As he dressed, she left the room and started to reheat the food. Sakura had already heated it up by the time he came out. Naruto took a seat at the table and began to eat. Wow, this is great, Sakura. You should really be thanking Tsunami. She made it, I just reheated it, said Sakura to him. Good look today, you two, commented the woman. I'll be heading out for some errands with Inari, so I will see you when I get back. In an attempt to catch up to Kakashi and Sasuke, Naruto ate his breakfast quickly. Then he went out and jumped into the trees with Sakura. But as they did, Sakura fell on the same branch directly behind Naruto, who grunted inquisitively and halted. She questioned, What is it, Naruto? She noticed a dead wild boar in the surroundings as she looked in his way. A number of bamboo trees had been felled. They jumped down to have a better look. Sakura remarked, Swords cut these down. Yeah, replied Naruto. And am I right about the direction they're going in? It looks like. He said, back to Tezuna's, Sakura concluded, Inari and Tsunami. They retaliated in kind. Reportedly up just in time to help Naruto stop two thugs brandishing katanas from murdering Inari and his mother. Sorry I cut it to the last minute, but like they say, heroes tend to arrive at that time, remarked Naruto. With eyes that seemed to hold a glimmer of optimism that had long since perished, Inari gazed at him in wonder. He sobbed. Naruto, please make sure my grandpa is all right, said he. I don't want to lose him like I did my father. You bet, Inari. I'm gonna protect Tezuna and bring down Gato once and for all, vowed Naruto. Sakura grinned. The same careless Naruto who never backed down or gave up. He would fight till the end. She would have to follow suit and do all in her power to keep her allies safe, even if it meant sacrificing some of them. Naruto looked at her and said, Let's go, Sakura. Her words were, right. Lead the way, Naruto. She pondered whether she would regret letting him lead her as soon as she said those words. To follow him, she would have to be a fool. Oh well, this one time only. Perhaps. The two of them turned back toward the bridge. Gato had finally made his move, therefore it was time to confront him. The bridge must have been attacked as well if he had pursued Tezuna's family. Please be okay till we arrive, Sasuke and Kakashi-sensei, Sakura pondered. All of his bridge workers were unconscious when Kakashi, Sasuke, and Tezuna arrived on the bridge. The enemy then showed up. Zabuza's hidden mist jutsu, the mist-encircled place that was all too familiar. Then four Zabuzas suddenly surrounded them, each brandishing a massive blade. Zabuza mistook Sasuke's trembling for fear, but Sasuke corrected him. I'm trembling with excitement, Uchiha smirked as he finished. Moving too quickly for the human eye to follow, he quickly annihilated all four water clones. In Zabuza's words, well, the brat's improving. He was not alone when he moved through the fog into their field of vision. Looks like you've got a rival, Haku. So it would seem, the man with the mask put out. Sasuke turned to him and said, Who do you think you are hiding behind a mask? Bring it on, I'm gonna rip that thing off and then kick your ass. Kakashi grinned. Good saying, Sasuke. Tezuna. Get yourself to safety. Sasuke, I'll handle Zabuza. You take the one in the mask, but be careful. Right. Said Sasuke. Tezuna moved back much more to the bridge's start. Then he paused and turned around. At least he wouldn't flee too far. These were the ninja he had to trust. He would fall if they did. He was skeptical that he would return to his home in time. Even if he did, once they dealt with Kakashi and the child, the enemy would come for him. All he could do was wait. Up higher, Sasuke started fighting Haku. After avoiding the Senbon, he kicked the man in the mask to the ground from behind. Both Zabuza and Haku had just hung back, so they were surprised by that. Impossible. Haku is faster than anyone else, he cried. Kakashi laughed. You call my genin brats, but it looks like he's gonna become stronger than you someday. Zabuza snarled. Haku, I think it's time to stop playing around. As Haku said, right, time to reveal my trump card, crystal ice mirrors. Sasuke was suddenly surrounded by ice mirrors. He glanced at one and saw Haku in it. He threw a kunai, but Haku moved to another mirror. Now he was considerably faster. Look at my actual speed, exclaimed Haku. Senbons flew from each mirror in a split second, striking Sasuke, who momentarily slumped in agony. This was problematic since his opponent was now too quick and could attack from a variety of angles. What would he do? Haku was knocked out of the mirror when a shuriken struck it. Zabuza glanced. What? Out of the fog came two figures. A female with long pink hair and a boy with spiky blonde hair. Naruto remarked, "Looks like we got here just in time." Kakashi grinned. Naruto, I couldn't agree more. His pals were present. Wait, friends? Sasuke grinned. Kakashi-sensei, what did we do? Sakura inquired. Someone will be required to keep Tazuna safe. Kakashi uttered those words. For that, I have something. Shadow clone jutsu, said Naruto. The actual battle was about to start as he made a group of roughly 10 clones, all of whom went to where Tazuna was. Sakura's eyes widened as she saw Naruto run toward Sasuke, who was within the mirror thingies, and he tried to help him by moving forward. If he stepped inside then. No, Naruto, don't, Sakura yelled. Naruto stopped short of the inside when she yelled. He will be able to attack you both at once if you enter. He can only attack one of us at a time, so stay out here, Sakura warned him. You're a clever girl, Haku uttered those words. He hurled a senbon at her, and she lifted her kunai to stop it, but she was too slow, and the tiny needle pierced her side, causing her to grunt. It wasn't enough to inflict a significant harm, but it hurt. Sakura. Naruto cried out. Just attack him and attempt to assist Sasuke, and I'll be all right, Sakura informed him. Sasuke attacked inside the mirrors, saying, Fireball Jutsu, Fire Style. Senbon flew at Sasuke, who managed to dodge a few but still got caught in the arm. Naruto grunted and started running around the mirrors, trying to catch up with Haku's image. A fireball appeared in the mirrors, but they didn't melt like Sasuke thought they would because they were made of ice. Naruto started to throw kunai at each mirror, but he didn't have the advantage of surprise like before. Sasuke grunted and fell when another senbon grabbed him by the neck. Sasuke. Naruto shouted. He noticed that his friend, who was alive, was stirring slightly. Haku remarked, now that's over with, I can concentrate on you, Naruto. Crystal ice mirrors, reform. Sakura gasped as the ice mirrors suddenly started to move, circling Naruto and moving away from Sasuke. She had to do something, and she looked from Naruto to Sasuke, wondering which one she should help. Up until now, she had just hung back and watched, but she wasn't sure. Sasuke might need some medical attention, as he had taken a lot of senbon, which weren't exactly lethal as they'd seen, but he was now being attacked. She made the decision to assist Naruto, but how? She pondered for a bit while staring at the mirrors, and then, remembering some of the genjutsu she had learned from some of the texts she had received from Kurenai's sensei prior to leaving the Leaf Village, she came up with a hand sign. Jutsu for blinding light. She performed the genjutsu for the first time, but amazingly it worked. Haku grumbled and shielded his eyes as a beam of light shot down from the sky at one of his mirrors, rebounded off the mirrors, and struck the others. Now, Naruto! Sakura yelled. Although Naruto had also shielded his own eyes, he glanced about and noticed Haku's image in one of the mirrors before hurling his kunai, striking the mirror and expelling Haku from it once more. Realizing his mirrors were useless, he growled in frustration. Stop! Naruto had a clear target after the mirrors disappeared. You've made the decision to fight me like a man? He smiled smugly as he asked. Without responding, Haku snatched up Naruto's final thrown kunai and was already behind the blonde when Naruto charged with a cry and Haku disappeared. As he closed in, Haku remarked, I hate to do this but you've left me no other options. With a look of shock and terror on his face, Naruto whirled around. For Sakura, time seemed to stop as everything transpired in a split second. Haku appeared before him, and he raised his sword to attack. When Haku rushed, blood poured from his mouth, indicating that he had been stabbed. Sakura shouted, her face filled with fear. Sakura sprinted forward and snatched Sasuke before he hit the ground as his eyes sprung open a few feet from Naruto, sending the blonde reeling backwards. Naruto sounded out, Sakura, Naruto. Sakura spoke in a pleading voice as tears ran down her cheeks. Please, stay alive. Despite the severe wound, Naruto continued to smile and stated, it's going to be okay, Sakura. Pushing himself up, Sasuke took in the scene. Naruto. No, he sprinted in their direction and shouted. He rushed to his buddies and knelt next to them. Naruto gasped out, Sasuke. Avoid talking like a loser, Sasuke informed him. Thinking fast, He grabbed up at Naruto's forehead and removed his headband, untying it so that it reached its full length. He then did the same with Naruto's headband, knowing that they needed to stop the bleeding if he was to have any hope of surviving, but they had no bandages or anything. "Hey, how are you?" Before his eyes began to close, Naruto asked. Sasuke quickly wrapped the ends around the wound to create a temporary bandage, but Naruto was unconscious when he finished. "Has witnessing a friend's death in front of you ever happened to you before?" Haku made fun of them. "Naruto is still alive. He may be a loser, but he never gives up," said Sasuke. "He's also growing stronger. He will soon pass away unless he possesses a unique ability that allows him to quickly cure wounds." Haku gave a chilly response. As Sakura heard the words, she recalled how Naruto's wound had miraculously healed on the day they had left the leaf to come here. "Naruto, you must employ whatever power you possess that repaired the damage sustained during the Demon Brothers' onslaught. Please, I don't want to lose you," she cried out. "Wake up, heal, and assist us, please." After a brief period of glancing back at his fallen teammate, Sasuke turned to see the man with the mask had vanished. Blast! Sasuke looked around and screamed, "Where did he go?" The bridge constructor, he realized then. The bridge builder trembled as he lost his protection, and if either of the opposing ninjas were to attack him, Naruto's clones guarding Tazuna vanished when he passed out. He spotted the masked man, who had a few senbon in his fingers, approaching abruptly. As he was ready to launch his preferred weapon, Haku remarked, "I hate killing, but you are our target." "Oh no, you don't," as he positioned himself in front of Tazuna and glared at Haku with red eyes that revealed a pair of tomo, Sasuke yelled. "What? Those eyes?" Haku cried out. "My Sharingan finally woke up, now I'm going to make you pay for what you did to Naruto," grinned Sasuke. Haku turned on his crystal ice mirrors again. He would have to look out for the girl with the pink hair and that flashing genjutsu, but he could hear her sobbing a few feet away as she called the name of the blonde male. "Naruto! Hurry up! You dare not give up!" Fueled by his anger at Naruto's injury, Sasuke fought with all his strength as Haku threw his senbon at him, knowing that he had to defeat this one before the girl recovered and used that genjutsu again. Needles were hurled at the Uchiha from all directions, but he was able to see the needles move before they did and avoid every attack thanks to the power of his new Sharingan. She was calling his name, and Naruto could hear her voice and feel her tears on his face, but everything was dark. Naruto attempted to say, "Sakura, I must assist her," and Sasuke, "but I'm very exhausted." After that, a deep growling voice whispered, "Then take my strength, boy." Who is present? Naruto's ability to speak sprang out of nowhere. When he opened his eyes, he saw that everything he had known was gone, including the mist, the bridge, his team, and the enemy. However, he noticed that his stomach was still bleeding, and he found himself in a room with a yellow-green light and what appeared to be a huge cage on the side. Inside the cage, there was something terrifying. A mouth large enough to swallow Naruto whole, with bright red eyes and a smiling set of enormous fangs. You're the nine-tailed fox," yelled Naruto. "Yes. Additionally, you appear to be in a bit of a jam. If I were inside your body, I would generally enjoy to eat a twerp like you. I die, you die. I suppose I'll be kind and share some of my chakra with you. It ought to assist you battle and mend the wound you sustained." The kanji letter for seal was shown on the cage, and Naruto, unable to move, saw a bright red chakra approaching him. Sakura remained by Naruto's side, hoping to stop the bleeding with her own hands and tears, as well as by applying pressure to the tourniquet Sasuke had made with their headbands. As the blood soaked through, she applied more pressure, hoping to use the tremendous strength she always used to strike Naruto to save him for once. Although he occasionally annoyed her, he was still someone she loved. "Naruto, persevere. You're going to be Hokage someday," she tried. "I think so, but till then, you cannot pass away. Or even after, I'd like to accompany you, too." Abruptly, her skin felt incredibly warm, as if there had been a fire nearby. As she attempted to halt the bleeding, her hand abruptly began to burn. She let out a cry and withdrew, gazing at Naruto's comatose corpse, which was instantly encircled by a red, blazing substance. "What?" she cried out. "Is that chakra?" However, chakra wasn't typically visible to the naked eye unless it was very strong. However, Sakura had never seen red chakra before. According to what she had observed during the tree climbing training, Sasuke's, hers, and his chakra were all blue. Naturally, that was typical for chakra. Did Naruto possess any unique abilities, like his healing? She looked at the stab wound as soon as she had finished thinking about it. She was surprised to see how quickly it was shutting. It disappeared, leaving no trace behind. Her gaze shifted to Naruto's face, immediately after he awoke. However, the warm blue eyes she had become accustomed to seeing were not his eyes. They had become a pale shade of crimson and appeared irate and untamed. She trembled at the sight. Naruto seemed more like a wild animal than someone watching her. His other traits had also become more savage. His fingernails had grown longer and his teeth sharper. Naruto, she inquired hesitantly, what's happened to you? He slowly stood up, but not on 2 feet, and roared. Like an animal once more, he was on his hands and knees. She called again, Naruto, because she didn't like his behavior. His eyes widened abruptly, and he gave her a startled expression. Sakura? Yes, it was his voice. She said, what's happened to you? Naruto examined his palms. He stayed the same even when the crimson chakra surrounding him faded. After a time, he stammered, I don't know, and then he turned to face her and saw that her hands were scorched. Did I do that? Sakura remarked, it came from you, but it's nothing. I'll be fine. Come on, we got to help Sasuke. He growled softly as he nodded. They turned that way, and Naruto took off, going so much more quickly than before that Sakura had little chance of keeping up. Sasuke, who had just received a few senbon to the back of his thigh in his blind area, was standing next to him in the mirrors. What? Cried Haku. You're done, exclaimed Naruto. No one makes Sakura cry. He may have turned rather monstrous, but he was still Naruto, and Sakura grinned as she hurried in. It was a brief altercation. Haku hurled his senbon at Sasuke and Naruto. Because of his leg injuries, the Uchiha found it difficult to avoid them, while Naruto didn't even try and let them strike him. Haku was interrupted when he roared and the senbon flew out of him, striking the mirrors. Naruto spotted the older boy trying to switch to another mirror and punched him into one of them. Then the others broke. Haku stood where he was, aware that Naruto's suddenly apparent full power was too much for him. Both Sakura's and Sasuke's mouths hung. Is Naruto there? Sasuke pondered. What was that kind of power? Naruto moved forward to strike the final blow as Haku stood up. Haku's mask then came off. Naruto recognized the female he and Sakura had encountered the day before as soon as he saw his face. Haku declared, You've defeated me. Sakura and Sasuke approached Naruto as he was panting and noticed that his looks had stabilized. Congratulations, Naruto, exclaimed Sakura. She was still intrigued by that power, but she was also a little afraid of it. But this was no time to inquire. Sasuke was also intrigued. Whatever the power was, it had been sufficient to crush the adversary. A twinge of jealousy sprang within him. What was that power, Naruto? Do you also possess a Kekai Genkai? Kekken what guy? Naruto inquired. Genkai Kekai. Like my ice jutsu, it's a genetic ability, Haku remarked. If it's true, you two are fortunate. You've got pals. No one was with me. They gave him a look. What are you saying? Sasuke inquired. The Kekai Genkai were feared in the small village where I grew up because of the immense devastation they might cause in a conflict. When he discovered that we had won, my father attempted to kill me after killing my mother. I was abandoned after killing him until Zabuza discovered me. Sakura was saddened by the story because she remembered seeing Naruto and Sasuke looking dejected and the starving child in this country that had begged her for money. She had been naive and fortunate to escape any tragedies. Naruto and Sasuke understood what it was like to be alone and without family. Her words were, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. I've lost to you. Kill me, please. Zabuza can no longer utilize me. Sakura and Naruto both paused, but Sasuke took out one of his last kunai knives and advanced cautiously. Sasuke remarked, if that is your wish. Both Sakura and Naruto gave him a wide-eyed stare. Sasuke. We just beat him, Naruto said. And you believe that he will simply leave us alone? Sasuke inquired. Before they could quarrel, Haku felt something and went toward his teammate, realizing that Zabuza needed him. He's sprinting, Sasuke cried out. The four of them were now against Zabuza, or so they believed, and they followed him just in time to witness him being impaled by Kakashi, who had been preparing to kill him for good. A small man appeared behind them. Gato had brought an army of his thugs, and he decided to just kill Zabuza because he thought the rogue ninja was too expensive. The crime lord then started kicking Haku's corpse, for which Naruto yelled at him. When Zabuza refused to defend himself, Naruto yelled at him instead, reminding him that Haku had dedicated and given his life to Zabuza. The rogue ninja actually started to cry at the loss of the person he had thought of as nothing more than a tool. He brought down several of the thugs as he pursued his prey relentlessly, but he was also repeatedly cut and impaled by multiple weapons. Ultimately, however, he pierced Gato's throat with the borrowed kunai and threw him off the bridge to his death. The thugs decided to invade the village after their master left, but sadly, the people had finally worked up the guts to do so. Under the leadership of Inari, they were armed with pitchforks and other weapons, and after Naruto and Kakashi each created shadow clones, the thugs turned and fled, declaring victory. After the bridge was finished and Zabuza and Haku were laid to rest on a hill, Naruto and his group left for home. Sakura glanced at Naruto as they strolled. "Hey Naruto, would you like to do something with me when we return?" she inquired. Surprised, Naruto looked at her and said, "Me do something with you?" He smiled, though he was probably accustomed to her asking Sasuke this. "Sure thing, Sakura." Sasuke's eyes narrowed, but he didn't turn to face them as she smiled at him. Sasuke reminded himself, it's okay if you lose a fangirl, she was annoying anyhow. Team 7 took a few days to get back from the land of waves. They cleared camp and returned late in the morning. They soon made their way through the village's gates. Then Naruto exclaimed excitedly, "All right, we're back home." Sakura let out a sigh of relief, appreciation, and frustration. Although she appreciated Naruto's optimism and was glad to be home, she still thought his loudmouth was a little bothersome. Though she didn't appreciate everything he did, she had at least warmed up to him. He was gentler than Sasuke, though, who just huffed as they went in. Kakashi remarked, "Yes, I guess it's nice to be home. Everyone take a couple days off, you've earned it after completing a mission like the one we went through." As Naruto put it, "Sounds good to me, according to Sasuke, I'm going home." Sakura didn't even say goodbye as she watched him leave. After that, she focused on Naruto. Sakura said, "Well Naruto, what would you like to do?" "Oh yeah, well I haven't had Ichiraku ramen in a while since we've been gone, so I'd like to go eat there." Sakura pondered, "Naruto, do you eat anything but ramen?" The statement, "Not really, it's my favorite food," was made by Naruto. Sakura remarked, "That's not very healthy, you need vegetables to help you grow strong. If you don't eat enough of those, it's no wonder you're so short." Naruto scowled. Sakura questioned, "You want to get taller, don't you?" "Yeah," said Naruto. Sakura remarked, "Well, you'll have to eat more than just ramen. You want to be Hokage, you have to be strong." Naruto let out a sigh. His least favorite cuisine was fresh vegetables, but he had previously stated that there were no shortcuts to attaining Hokage. "That doesn't mean you can't have ramen every now and then," Sakura replied, "but try to think of your health." "All right," responded Naruto. "Geez, you sound like my mother." "How would you know what she sounded like? You never met her," Sakura exploded. Naruto flinched as if she had struck him. No, this was more terrible than any of her previous hits on him. Sakura instantly felt bad about what she had said. "Oh, I'm sorry Naruto, I didn't mean to," Naruto retorted. "No, you're right. I never did meet my mother, I don't even have a name for her, or my father." Sakura gave him a pitying glance. Because he was an orphan without parents to teach him right from bad, she had denigrated him. Perhaps he wouldn't have caused so much problems in the academy if he had a genuine mother to chastise him occasionally. For the most part, Iruka-sensei had been mostly disregarded by the other teachers. That made Sakura wonder about something else. "Hey Naruto, do you know why everyone seems to dislike you?" replied Sakura. "Well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people in the village." She noticed that several people were now glaring at Naruto, most likely wishing he had perished or permanently left on his first expedition outside the village. "I don't know." Feeling that he was lying, she scowled. What was the reason behind the rapid healing and red chakra? In many respects, he was definitely not your typical shinobi. Sakura questioned, "Why'd I get the feeling you do?" Naruto reddened. Naruto flinched as Sakura walked toward him, covering his head with his hands because he was accustomed to her occasionally striking him. However, she placed her hands on his shoulders rather than striking him. "Naruto, we're teammates now. We need to be honest with each other," Sakura responded. "Please, tell me what you know." As if to test if anyone was observing, Naruto glanced around. "Come with me." He escorted her to the training grounds where the bell test had taken place. He started telling her everything he knew when they sat down. "Just before I became a genin, after I failed the entrance exam, I was approached by Mizuki-sensei. He tricked me into stealing this special scroll." Haruka-sensei found me and then Mizuki attacked us. Have you ever heard of the nine-tailed fox Sakura? She gave a nod. The tale of the monster fox that attacked the community on October 10th 12 years ago was well known. It attacked the village and killed many people, including the fourth Hokage, but he managed to take it down with him. Naruto gave a headshake. That's what people say, but it's not true. The fox couldn't be killed, so the fourth sealed it inside someone. Me. Sakura gave him a disbelieving glance. Then, however, everything fell into place. That's why the villagers hate you. I heard someone call you a monster when we were little, and you looked a bit like a fox when you had that red chakra. Was that? Naruto affirmed, yeah, it was that thing's power. I saw it while I was out. It was inside this giant cage somewhere inside me. Sakura trembled at the idea. Naruto gave her a worried look. If you don't want anything more to do with me, it's okay. Sakura gave a headshake. No, it's okay. You're Naruto, the person who contains the fox. Not the fox itself. I mean, sure, you can be annoying with how loud you are sometimes, but you're also very positive, you never give up, and you're really friendly. Unlike someone else I know. He gave her a look. After a moment of stillness, Naruto's stomach rumbled. He smiled at her and laughed. Guess I'm still hungry. Well, come on. Let's go get some ramen, but after that you're gonna have to start eating more vegetables, Sakura replied. Naruto cast his gaze downward. They started to return on foot to the center of the settlement. Say, Sakura, how come you decided you want to do something with me? Normally you're always asking Sasuke for that? Sakura became red. Well, at the moment, she felt almost like Hinata. For a moment, she was unable to find the right words since her tongue seemed to be twisted. I've gotten to know Sasuke, and while I still admire him for being so strong, cool and handsome, I've realized that he's just not the kind of guy the first want to spend the rest of my life with, Sakura stated. He's just so cold and he's not looking for girls. I asked him myself and he's only focused on avenging his clan. I can't spend however long that will be waiting for him. Meanwhile you're... She paused. She was unable to add her thoughts about Naruto at this time. Naruto is friendly and hospitable. Naruto questioned, does this mean you would be open to dating me? Sakura's face flushed red. She managed to say, why yes. Naruto gave a bashful smile. But don't get too excited right now, Naruto. I'm willing to go out with you, but I think I need to focus more on my ninja training for a bit. I spent so much time fawning over Sasuke that I neglected my own strength. I know I've gotten stronger, but I still have a lot to make up for. Naruto said, well, how about we train together after ramen? Sakura grinned. That sounds good. But maybe tomorrow. I should probably get home to my parents as soon as possible. Alright. After arriving at Ichiraku's, they each ate a bowl of ramen. When she was finished, Sakura held her full stomach. That was good. Well, see you tomorrow, Naruto. I need to get home. As she left, Naruto waved, bye. Sakura left the ramen store and started to walk home. However, she got a clear sense that someone was observing her as she did so. She pivoted and observed Hinata. She cried out. The Hyuga girl was standing a little distance from the ramen shop. Was she observing them? After paying for Sakura's and his bowls, he had promised to treat her when the bills arrived. Naruto abruptly left the ramen store. Naruto said, oh, Hinata, hey, upon seeing her. Hi Naruto, said the bashful girl. How are you? I haven't seen you for a while. Yeah, I got sent on a mission to a faraway land. I actually got to fight some other ninja, Naruto replied. Hinata said, oh well, I'm glad you're alright. Was it hard? Naruto replied, yeah, but nothing I couldn't handle. Well, I better get back home. Nice to see you, Hinata. Hinata muttered, too softly for him to hear, why yeah. You too. I hope we'll have joint training sessions again soon, and turned to leave. Sakura came over to her. Hinata turned to face her. Were you two on a date? Yeah, replied Sakura. Hinata remarked, but I thought you liked Sasuke. She had been aware of Naruto's fondness for Sakura, of course. However, she had hoped that this would not occur. I did, but not any longer, insisted Sakura. They were silent. Sakura recalled how, in their early years, she and Ino had developed a rivalry. After Ino protected Sakura from bullies who were making fun of her forehead, they became friends. Sakura felt as if she had made a mistake in ending their friendship, which she had just done so that they could both pursue Sasuke as rivals. She didn't want their relationship to spiral out of control, but she wasn't even close to Hinata. Sakura let out a sigh. Listen, Hinata. I know you like Naruto, but I do too now. If you want to try and win his heart, I'm not gonna go down easily. But I still want us to be friends, or at least on good terms. Is that okay? Sure Sakura, mentioned Hinata. Good luck. Sakura grinned. Then she left for home. However, she noticed Ino's house as she got closer to her own. She shrugged and made the decision to visit her old acquaintance. She approached the door and rapped on it. Ino's mother quickly opened it. She had brown hair that she wore in a bun with a red hair wrap, brown eyes, and a dark outfit with a gem on the chest. She didn't resemble her daughter at all. Oh Sakura. It's been a long time, dear. Are you here to see Ino? Yes, Sakura replied. Ino, someone to see you. After a few minutes, Ino showed up. To put it mildly, she appeared taken aback. Since they had become into rivals, Sakura had not paid them a visit. Sakura? Ino, I need to talk to you. Ino went outside. So, what's going on, forehead? Sasuke reject you or something? Sakura scowled. You could say that. I talked to him, and he tuned me down, but I've had a lot of thinking to do since I've been put on a team with him and Naruto. I've gotten to know them both and I've learned that Sasuke isn't into girls. What? Cried Ino. You mean no, he's not gay, Sakura exclaimed. He's just not looking for romance right now. He's only interested in training to avenge his clan. Ino responded, oh, but she wasn't sure if she should believe it. Sakura remarked, well, I've decided I like someone else. If you still want to go after Sasuke, then fine. I don't know why I started doing it. Practically everyone in our class started liking him, Ino stated. Yeah. Maybe I just wanted to do what everyone else was doing, Sakura replied. But I'd like to try and be friends with you again like we used to. After giving her a long, wide-eyed stare, Ino forced a grin. You know, I think I'd like that. I kinda missed you, forehead. Me too, Ino pig. Me too. After laughing, the two females put their arms around one another and hugged. Let's never end our friendship over some guy again, Sakura replied. Sakura made amends with Ino and went home. She told her parents about her lengthy mission and gave them a hug. Following her successful completion of a mission for which she was entirely unqualified, she enjoyed a few days of well-earned rest. The third Hokage would write to Tazuna to inform them that they would need to pay for at least a B-rank mission on time after Kakashi informed him about it. The Leaf would not provide any shinobi assistance to the Land of Waves until then. Tazuna concurred that the loan needed to be paid, even if Sakura wasn't sure they would need it. They could restore prosperity to their area now that the bridge was constructed and Gato and his thugs were no longer there. Sakura and her teammates might receive roughly 3 times their initial compensation in a few more weeks. The concept was lovely. She examined herself in the mirror on her days off. Sakura noticed her long pink hair and stared at it. It occasionally got in her eyes, but she liked it for a long time. That would interfere. Since she had heard that Sasuke liked girls with long hair, she had grown it out. However, that was clearly untrue. She had come to know him and had decided to pursue Naruto instead. It's time for a change. She grabbed a pair of scissors from her bathroom and realized that she had changed since she had become a shinobi. The previous person had been a fangirl who was completely focused on gaining the affection of a cool boy, disregarding her ninja training and abandoning her closest friend in the process. She had changed into a girl who would take her training seriously in order to support her village and colleagues. She would eventually find a lovely husband who would love her and be with her, and she would no longer discard friendships. Sakura met Sasuke at the bridge by the river that ran through the Hidden Leaf village after taking a few days off and spending time with her family. It was an excellent method to cross the river here, but it was not quite as large as the one they'd guarded in the Land of Waves. Sakura said, "Hello Sasuke," to greet him. Sasuke muttered in welcome, observing her hairstyle but remaining silent. HMPH. Sakura leaned on the bridge and there was silence. Naruto soon showed up, his eyes enlarging at the sight of her hair. Good morning Sakura, he exclaimed, sounding a little surprised. What did you do to your hair? Got a haircut, Sakura remarked, blushing as she ran a hand through her hair. I hope it looks okay. His initial shock was soon overcome. You look good with just about any style, I'd say, Sakura. These statements made her blush even more. Aw, thanks Naruto. She wanted to give him a thank you kiss but refrained. At them, Sasuke's gaze narrowed. He tightened his jaw. Why am I experiencing this sensation? Do I feel envious? I can't be, can I? Sakura was merely a bothersome fangirl. She has, nevertheless, improved. Not gushing over me, begging for a date, or talking to me all the time. However, Why does it feel like she'd choose Naruto? After giving it some thought, Sasuke was unable to think of a response. Kakashi then appeared. Kakashi said, "Well, hope you all had a good few days off?" Naruto said, "Yeah, but I'm ready to go for another mission." Sakura grinned at his enthusiasm and optimism, although she wouldn't mind if he were a little more reserved. "Well, alright. But we won't be doing any more C-rank missions for a while," Kakashi replied. That was a relief to Sakura. After that trip to the waves, which was clearly a B or possibly an A class, she was ready to tone it down a little, even if she felt confident that she could now handle some criminals. Naruto grumbled, "Aw, come on, I want to do more like the one we were on." Sakura yelled, "Naruto," and struck him in the head. "You want to get us all killed? We were lucky to get out of that alive." Sasuke gave a nod. "She's right, I was glad to get some real battle experience, but I think we better not push our luck." Naruto let out a sigh. "Alright, guess we'll just do the lame missions then." Beneath his mask, Kakashi smiled. "Cheer up, Naruto, we have something coming up soon that you'll probably like, if you survive." His genin freaked out at that. "What?" inquired Sakura. "It's a surprise." Over the next few days, they completed a few more rank missions. Obtaining herbs from the summit of a mountain, which was not too difficult. However, there was a criminal at the summit of the mountain who was attempting to steal the priceless herbs for himself. He was simply and quickly taken down by Team 7. After that, they had to capture Tora the cat once more. Since he had previously gotten a lot of the cat's claws, Naruto declined to pursue her. Sasuke was left to handle it, and he managed to grab the cat without exerting any effort, holding it by the neck to prevent it from scratching him. Then he grinned at Sakura, who grinned back. Sakura praised Sasuke as a comrade rather than as a boy she had a crush on. "Good job, Sasuke," she exclaimed. Did Sasuke smile? He remarked, "Hey, nothing I can't handle." Sakura gazed at him as they gave the cat back. It was the first time she had ever seen him smile genuinely. In the meantime, Naruto only gave Sasuke a jealous glance. He yelled at the Uchiha, "Man, why are you able to get that cat without getting scratched up?" "Here we go again, oh boy." Sakura pondered. "Because I'm superior to you," said Sasuke. "Unless you've got what it takes to prove me wrong." Naruto shot back, "Hey, I'm the one that beat Haku back in the land of waves." With a wave of his palm welcoming the challenge, Sasuke exclaimed, "Oh yeah? Well, let's see you use that power you did that with, come on." Despite gritting his teeth, Naruto did not see any red chakra. Sasuke laughed. "I don't know what power that was, but if you can't call upon it at will, then you're not worth my time." Kakashi exclaimed, "Sasuke, that's enough. If you two start picking fights with each other, I may have to reconsider applying you for the Chunin exams." They all gave him a startled look. "Oops," Kakashi said, realizing that he had intended it to be unexpected. "The Chunin exams?" cried Naruto. "You're gonna make us Chunin?" "But Kakashi-sensei, we've only been genin for less than a couple months," Sakura replied. "That's true, normally we'd wait for a year before letting genin apply, but you three have shown remarkable prowess already. Taking on experienced ninja looks good on your resumes." Sakura was apprehensive, Sasuke smirked, and Naruto smiled. Sakura looked down and remarked, "I don't think I'm ready, but I don't know about these two." "Well, it's up to you, Sakura," Kakashi acknowledged. "You might not be, but it could be good experience that you can benefit from anyway. And that could help the next time." Sakura considered it. At the mission room, they gave Tora back to the wife of the fire daimyo. As the woman lovingly smothered her kitten, the third Hokage himself then assigned them one final mission. "I'd like you to babysit my grandson and his friends tonight, Naruto," remarked Hiruzen. "I don't babysit," complained Naruto. Kakashi exclaimed, "Naruto," in a foreboding tone. "Behave yourself, I might have to reconsider. These missions may be boring, but they are necessary." Naruto responded, "Fine," while folding his arms. They proceeded to see Konohamaru and his two pals, Moegi and Udon, at the Hokage house. Moegi had a pair of orange pigtails and scarlet cheeks. Udon was a child with glasses and a snotty nose, and Konohamaru had tall, spiky dark brown hair with a long scarf that he may trip over. Like Naruto before he received his headband, they all donned goggles on their heads. The third Hokage's grandson said, "Hey boss, great to see you." Naruto chanted, "Hey shrimp," while stroking the child's head. Sakura inquired, "You two know each other?" "Yeah, I spent a little time with him after getting my picture taken," Naruto replied. And you better watch out cause I'm in the academy now and I'm gonna learn all there is to be a ninja and become Hokage someday, Konohamaru said. Naruto remarked, well, we'll just see about that. Behind Naruto, Konohamaru saw the other members of Team 7. And who are these guys? Your minions? Oh, I bet that's your girlfriend there. Sakura blushed as he glanced at her. Naruto also flushed. Well, you're sharp kid. Yeah, she is my girlfriend, or at least might be soon enough. Sakura's face flushed like a tomato. Hey, don't just go saying embarrassing stuff like that just because I went on a date with you. She struck his skull once more. Naruto exclaimed, ow, sorry Sakura. Sakura hissed, I swear you get on my nerves so much. Why did I ever grow fond of you? Her inner voice inquired. Sasuke gave the younger child a scowl. And I'm not Naruto's minion, if anything, he's my minion, but he's too weak to even qualify for that. Naruto yelled, what did you say, jerk? In response, Sasuke said, you heard me loser. As Kakashi put it, alright, that's enough. Put a lid on it you two. Well, let's go out and play ninja, Konohamaru replied after a moment of stillness. Since they didn't yet have the actual combat shuriken, he and his companions all took out paper ones, which were used to simulate ninja fighting. Sakura and Sasuke both experienced some shame. Ninjas in action. It was going to be awkward. Sasuke remarked, lame. I'm just gonna hang back. Well, if you want to do something else Sasuke, we can take turns watching the kids and train in between. Naruto. Sakura, you two take them out to play and then we can switch around dinner, Kakashi replied. That sounds like fun. Naruto exclaimed. Come on Sakura. Seemingly oblivious to her punching him a moment before, he took her hand. Everything appeared to turn white around her as she blushed while being dragged along and saw his radiant smile. They guide the children through the hamlet while they play games like tag and ninja, hurling paper shuriken at one another. It was enjoyable. Often, they exchanged teams, with Sakura and Naruto first on each other's team, followed by Naruto and Konohamaru and Sakura with the other two. However, Naruto prevailed both times when he was able to evade the shuriken that was hurled at him and strike back. Moegi said, all right, what do we play next? According to Konohamaru, I have an idea. Rescue the hostage. We tie up the boss's girlfriend and take her away and he has to rescue her. When Sakura heard this, she pictured herself bound to a bonfire. She pictured herself screaming and kicking as the fire came closer. Help, 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 she thought. I'll save you. Sakura, Naruto, dressed as a knight in dazzling armor, cut her ropes and dragged her aboard his horse in her fantasy. Sakura briefly grinned at the idea before picturing herself bound by 3 little children. The humiliation was unbearable. With a sly smile, she pulled a piece of rope out of thin air and said, oh no you don't. How about we have a different hostage? Like the 3rd Hokage's grandson. As she closed in while still smiling, her shadow fell on Konohamaru, who trembled. He yelled, and started to run. Sakura screamed, come back here you little brat, and ran after him. Naruto cried, hey wait up, as he and the 2 children ran after them. Konohamaru shouted as he ran. You know I'm surprised the boss even likes you. You got a really big forehead, and you're ugly too. Sakura became 10 times more angry as a result. Oh, that's it, you're dead. However, their pursuit ended abruptly. A young man wearing a black disguise was struck by Konohamaru. His entire body was hidden by his black attire, which only showed his purple-painted face. He had something wrapped in bandages on his back. A blonde female with a fan on her back was standing next to him. The woman wore a headband around her neck, and the man wore one on top of his mask. They weren't leaf shinobi, though. Their insignia looked like a line above an hourglass. The man dressed in black exclaimed, what's this? Hey, watch where you're going squirt. Sakura halted, and Naruto quickly caught up to the other two. As the man grabbed Konohamaru by the shirt, their eyes grew wide. The child exclaimed, I'm sorry. With a yell, Naruto said, hey let him go. The man gave him a look. He appeared to be just a few years their senior. Naruto's headband caught his eye. Hey, you a ninja too? You look pretty weak to be. Naruto tightened his jaw. You wanna fight? Bring it. The blonde woman with the fan said, Kankuro, don't go picking fights. Don't worry, Tamari. This will be easy, the man named Kankuro instructed. He took a step forward, but a rock fell in front of him before he could move. Sasuke was in a tree when they all turned to look around. You want to pick a fight, you should go for bigger prey than kids and losers. Moegi's eyes were filled with love as she gazed at Sasuke. It was impossible for Sakura to resist blushing a little too. She still had a lot of admiration for Sasuke, despite having given up on him. She felt secure with him by her side. Of course, Naruto was strong, but for the time being, Sasuke was still stronger. When a fresh voice exclaimed, "Kankuro!" everyone was taken aback, including Sasuke. On the other branch from Sasuke, a red-haired boy wearing a similarly shaded attire and carrying a gourd on his back materialized. On the strap of his gourd, he wore the identical headband as the other two newcomers. His eyes were cold, slender, and expressionless. Above his left eye was a kanji red mark. Who was he? The Uchiha-eyed? The first thought that arose was trouble. Only a Jonin on Kakashi's level could have moved without making any noise. Kankuro said, "Oh, hey Gaara," and retreated. "Sorry, I was just a little agitated." Gaara stated, "Shut up or I'll kill you," in a pretty nonchalant manner. Kankuro remarked, Right little brother." Abruptly, Gaara vanished and resurfaced beside the two foreign shinobi. "Sorry for any trouble he caused," Gaara murmured without altering her face. Sasuke sprang before his group. "It's fine," Gaara stated, "we'll be on our way." Sasuke yelled, "Wait," as they pivoted. "What's your name?" Tamari, the fan-wielding girl, turned around. Me? "No, the one with the gourd on his back," explained Sasuke. "My name's Gaara of the Desert. I'm curious about you too," Gaara remarked, turning to face the back. Sasuke stopping Kankuro with just a stone had amazed him. Gaara could see Sasuke was clearly talented. The other two didn't look like they were any stronger than the young children they were with. "I'm Sasuke Uchiha," Sasuke introduced himself. Trying to seem cool, Naruto said, "I bet you're dying to know who I am." "I couldn't care less," Gaara said icily in response. Naruto was disheartened by that. Sakura gave him a look. Sakura muttered, "Don't worry Naruto, he just doesn't know you're actually worth it." Her remarks caused Naruto to smile, thanks Sakura. Sakura suddenly questioned the foreigners. "What are you guys doing here? You're not from around here." "No, we're from the Hidden Sand Village, here to take the Chunin exams," Tamari replied, later. As the new trio left, Team 7 watched them turn back. Sasuke remarked, "That guy is strong," as he observed Gaara. "If we're gonna enter the exams, we got our work cut out for us." Their mission, to watch Konohamaru and his companions, was over. "Well, I think that's good. Why don't we all have a team dinner?" Kakashi responded. Naruto said, "I call Ichiraku, right now." Sakura glanced at him and asked, "Ramen again?" Naruto said, "Hey, I haven't had it in 3 days, that's a record for me." Sakura let out a sigh. "All right, well it is very good, I'll come." She looked at their final teammate, who was still silent. Although Sasuke remained mute, he did not announce his departure. He was staying, then. Naruto pigged out at Ichiraku Ramen, where they all went. On one side were Sasuke and Kakashi, while Sakura sat beside him. She then turned to face their sensei and peered at his mask. "Hey, since we're eating together we can get a chance to see your face finally sensei," she said. Kakashi remarked, "Oh I suppose so, you didn't see it before?" Sakura replied, "No, if I did, I'd remember. During one of their dinners in the Land of Waves, why hadn't she sneaked a peek? She must not have given it much thought because she was too busy eating." Naruto inquired inquisitively, "What are you hiding under there anyway, sensei?" "Oh nothing," answered Kakashi nonchalantly. "Just been wearing a ninja mask since I was a kid actually." "So you don't have any scars or anything you're hiding?" replied Naruto. "Like big lips? Or buck teeth?" Now, curious about what his sensei might be concealing under that mask, Sasuke stared. If he ever felt like it, it would be nice to be able to make fun of him. This temptation was too strong even for the stoic Uchiha to resist. Meanwhile, Kakashi reddened. "No, nothing at all." The genin waited as their supper arrived, keeping a watch on Kakashi as he accepted his bowl. The Jonin remarked, "This looks good," as he carefully drew the food in. The genin watched silently but eagerly as he reached up for his mask, however, just as Kakashi was ready to take it down. As she, Choji, and Shikamaru all staggered into the ramen stall, sending Kakashi face first into his bowl, Ino said, "Sasuke, what a coincidence." Sakura yelled, "Ah! Get out of the way Ino pig." As Team 7 attempted to remove the others from their sensei so they could see his face, a brawl broke out between the two genin squads. Naturally, The others retaliated once the wrestling started, with the exception of Shikamaru, who was too slothful. Because Choji was so overweight, he was able to restrain Naruto and Sasuke while Sakura and Ino started pushing one another. Sakura shoved Ino aside as she said, "Hey, what's the deal, forehead? I thought we were friends again." Sakura remarked, releasing her grip and turning around, "You got in the way of what we were trying to see." Although their altercation had only lasted a few seconds, unexpectedly. "Ah, that was good," Kakashi said, placing an empty bowl in front of him and putting his mask back. "Wow. So fast," said Sakura and Naruto. "Even while he is eating, he moves quickly." Sasuke pondered. "I suppose that when a mission is underway, you can't waste time on a lunch." Kakashi caught the attention of both Tucci, the ramen chef, and his daughter, Ayame. Tucci grinned broadly as the young woman spoke, her eyes full of emotions. Kakashi noticed that they were observing him and questioned, "What?" Sakura and Naruto exchanged glances. "Okay, now I'm curious. We've got to see his real face sometime. From the look Ayame has, he must be really good looking," stated Sakura. Naruto glanced at the waitress after Kakashi. "They might be kind of cute together." Sakura laughed. "Maybe." Kakashi looked to Team 10 as the genin finished their meal. "So, are you kids gonna be taking the Chunin exams as well?" "Yeah, it's probably gonna be a drag though," Shikamaru remarked. "Hey, at least we were training while you guys were away on that long mission," Ino replied. "We worked with Asuma and Kurenai-sensei and her squad. We're all getting stronger." As Choji watched Naruto and Sasuke eat, his mouth began to water. "Ah, come on. How long does it take?" As soon as Team 10 finished their meal, Team 7 finished theirs and left the stand. Ino yelled, "See you later, Sasuke, bye Sakura." "Bye, Ino," exclaimed Sakura. After giving Ino a brief glance, Sasuke gave her a quick smile. Sasuke thought, "I never imagined that having a fangirl would make me so pleased. They're typically obnoxious." He was still a little irritated, but he was also happy, at least for him. When Sasuke smiled at Ino, her heart melted. He hastily averted his gaze and continued walking with his team. Sasuke remarked, "Well, see you tomorrow. I'm going home." He started to walk home. Kakashi remarked, "You all get a good amount of rest. Good job today. I'll be recommending you to take the exams tomorrow." "Yeah," exclaimed Naruto. Sakura wasn't so sure, but Sasuke paused for a second, grinning and letting out a little HMPH in victory before moving on. The following morning, Kakashi took his time, but they met at the village bridge. "Well, that's good news. Go to the second floor of the academy. You're all submitted and ready to go," their sensei remarked. "Are we all required to leave?" Sakura inquired. As Kakashi said it, "It's all up to you." Sakura paused as her two male teammates started to move in the direction of the academy. Naruto turned as he saw her stall and said, "Are you coming, Sakura?" She answered, "Yeah, I guess," and then she followed. Sasuke made the decision to try to reassure her after realizing that she must have been feeling unsure. "Sakura, you've made great progress in a short period of time. You are the academy's smartest girl, and your physical strength is also increasing. You also used your intelligence to assist us defeat Hiku. Even if Naruto is a huge loser, you might not be as skilled as him in combat." "Hey!" Naruto yelled. Ignoring Naruto, Sasuke went on, "But you have the most analytical mind in our squad and the keenest affinity for genjutsu. Even if we don't become Chunin this time, there's always next time, and we'll become more powerful." Sakura gave him a long look before grinning and said, "Thank you, Sasuke. That was what I needed. Okay. Come on, let's do this." She approached them and grasped their hands, saying, "Come together." "We are one," Sasuke said. "Yes," Naruto concurred, saying, "Watch out for anyone who might get in our way. We are going to be the best team." With Sakura in the center, holding each boy's hand, they made their way to the academy. On the second floor, they headed to the classroom, where Kakashi was waiting for them. "I'm glad you decided to come, Sakura," their teacher said. "If you hadn't, then I would have had to send the boys away." Sakura's eyes were wide. "What? However, I believed you to have stated that it was up to each of us." Kakashi responded, "Yeah, but I wanted you to make the decision on your own. I didn't want to put undue pressure on you to give in because of your teammates. So, for the time being, this is where we say our goodbyes." He walked away, making place for the door behind him, and Team 7 walked in to discover the room packed with other genin. "Hey, Team 7 is here too," a voice that was familiar stated. Woof. A puppy let out a bark. With Akamaru the puppy perched on his head, Kiba approached them, Hinata and Shino trailing closely after, and then Team 10. Sasuke. Immediately, Ino gave him a back embrace. Sasuke scowled and said, "Get out." He didn't enjoy the contact, but he appreciated the attention she offered him. Every member of the Rookie 9 is present. Are you prepared to kick Sasuke in the ass? Kiba said. Take care not to bite off more than you can process, Kiba. Remember that even though we may be from the same village, you are also my opponent, Sasuke remarked. Indeed, you might win Rookie of the Year, but we'll see if you can maintain that distinction. Akamaru and I have been training non-stop. Woof. Hinata said, "Hi, Naruto," with her typical shyness. "Hi Hinata," said Naruto courteously. Sakura looked at Hinata, who was blushing brightly and coiled her fingers, but she also saw someone staring at her from behind. A boy a couple of years older, with long brown hair and a white jacket, who had the same eyes as Hinata and the Leaf Village headband on his head. Next to him was a girl wearing a sleeveless pink shirt with her hair in two buns, and a boy with short black hair, very bushy eyebrows, and a green jumpsuit. The white-eyed boy appeared to be glaring at Hinata, but his eyes quickly shifted to Sasuke as he moved forward. "You're the year's best rookie, aren't you?" His question was, "What's your name?" "It's common courtesy to give your name first when introducing yourself," Sasuke said, glaring at him since he didn't like his patronizing tone. The older boy responded, "I am from a better cloth than common. You must have heard about the Hyuga clan, don't you? Like you, we are a clan of dojutsu practitioners. Even yet, ours is still largely intact." Sasuke's scowl grew more intense. "Is that correct? Okay, my name is Sasuke Uchiha." The other boy said, "Neji Hyuga, I'm the best genin in the Leaf," with pride. Sakura glanced from Neji to Hinata, identifying that as her clan name as well because of the resemblance in their bright white eyes. "You two related?" "He is my cousin," Hinata remarked, avoiding eye contact with Neji. "HMPH. You have no right to be referred to as my kin," Neji stated icily. "What? Hello. Why would you say something like that to a member of your own clan?" Naruto growled at him. "Don't bother pip-squeaking," Neji turned away and said. The lad in the green jumpsuit went up to Sasuke, while the girl followed him. "My name is Rock Lee," he stated, adding that it's customary to provide your name first. "Even if I'm not as good as Neji, I believe I'd make a good opponent. I'd want to challenge you to a sparring session." "Second best, huh?" Sasuke asked, glancing at him. "That would leave me with just one more genin to defeat, I guess. However, I don't believe that this is the appropriate moment." "You're correct. In the tests, then," said Rock Lee. "Hey, I want to battle you if you're the second best," Naruto said, taking a step forward. "What's your name?" "Uzumaki Naruto. It was common knowledge that you were the last person in your class to die." "Not worth my time at all." Lee uttered those words. "Oh, I see. Take this," then, Naruto rushed forward. After disappearing, Lee abruptly reappeared from the side and kicked Naruto in that direction. "Naruto." Both Sakura and Hinata cried out. "Your abilities are lacking. I don't want to engage in combat with someone who is defeated with a single blow. And you must be Sakura," Lee remarked before turning to face her. "A lovely name that fits a lovely girl." Sakura's cheeks flushed. She was also uncomfortable with the lad's big eyebrows, but she had already made a snap judgment about Naruto and lived to regret it. This bushy-breasted boy was undoubtedly talented. Trying to be courteous, she said, "Thank you," but her inner voice was saying, I'll be nice to him, but Naruto is much better looking." "Hello everybody," a fresh voice said. The man, who looked to be close to 20, had long silver hair and was older than all the rookies, even older than Neji and his friends. "I'm Kabuto, and this is my 7th time taking this exam," remarked the newcomer. "As a sort of veteran, I'd be happy to lend you younger ninja a hand." "7 times?" Sakura cried out. "How do you deal with failure so frequently?" "I guess I'm just not lucky," laughed Kabuto. "Do you want to know anything, then? Although we are short on time, I can provide you with some information about any of the test takers." The first person that came to mind for Sasuke was Gaara of the Desert. "Oh, so you know their name, that makes it too easy." Kabuto pulled out a piece of paper that served as a chakra card, and after passing his chakra through it, the invisible information materialized, accompanied with Gaara's visage. "I think this person is bad news. Although I don't know anything about his skills, he has finished numerous missions and earned an A rank without receiving even a scratch. Not even a little scrape." Sakura cried out, recalling how Sasuke and Naruto had suffered severe injuries during their conflict with Haku. A second man, with 2 scars across his face, came into the room before they could think any more. His black eyes squinted at them, and he wore a dark cap over his head. "Take a seat, everyone, and you won't sit with your teammates," he called. As instructed, all of the genin took seats apart from their teammates. Sakura and Sasuke were with strangers, while Naruto sat by Hinata. "My name is Ibiki Morino, and I am in charge of the interrogation and torture team at Leaf Village. And just now, your worst adversary." He distributed a piece of paper to each person. "You will now take the written test," Ibiki stated. Naruto's jaw fell open. "A written exam?" Sakura sent a troubled glance at Naruto. She was aware that he had never performed well on written exams. His intellectual prowess was simply lacking. She was aware that he wasn't entirely without hope because, after all, he had devised that plan to defeat Zabuza back in the Land of Waves. At times, he was also a terrific joker. Remembering the eraser that had fallen on Kakashi's head prior to their meeting, she grinned. She still thought he was going to struggle. "You will take your test separately from your teammates," Ibiki stated, "so that you can't rely on them to help you." Sakura and Naruto both experienced some sadness at that, while Sasuke stayed silent. Along with other ninja in the room, they were led to separate tables. Hinata and Naruto were positioned next to strangers. Sakura looked over, fearing Hinata would approach, but since she was so bashful, it might not happen. Kakashi sat with Asuma and Kurenai in the Jonin lounge. Kakashi remarked, "Well, I wonder how they're doing. Word is that their instructor is going to be Ibiki Moroni," Asuma stated. Kakashi remarked, "Moroni. Great," feeling depressed at the notion of what his genin were going through. "They get the sadistic one who likes to torture everyone." "What do you mean?" inquired Kurenai. "I keep forgetting you're a new Jonin, Kurenai," Asuma replied. "You see, Ibiki specializes in breaking the spirit." Sakura could tell by looking at the test that Naruto couldn't answer these questions. They were extremely complex. How would she respond? Naruto would be in trouble, but she and Sasuke were both quite intelligent. To move on to the next round, each of them had to pass. She was aware that if they were disqualified, Sasuke would not be happy. It was Naruto's turn to nearly fail after it had been hers. She started reviewing the questions. It was fortunate that, for once, she had concentrated more on scholarly examples rather than military ones. She started writing the answers down and received 7 out of 9, or the majority. She was concerned, though, because Naruto didn't appear to be writing anything down. She noticed Sasuke lost in contemplation, with a small red glare appearing in his eyes. Was Sharingan being used by him? She averted her gaze and bit her lip. Was Sasuke unfaithful? No, unless there was unquestionably a problem with this. Sakura thought she was one of the few genin in the room who could truly answer the extremely difficult questions correctly without cheating. Of course. They were expected to be unfaithful. The test included it. Maybe, as long as they weren't caught. She continued to look at the rest, doing her best to identify them. Many of the people around her were expelled after being found cheating more than once. Meanwhile, Naruto was completely unsuccessful. Despite his best efforts, he was unable to answer the questions. Hinata gave him a test after observing his struggle. "Naruto, you can look at mine." He gave her a look. She offered to aid him, but why? But she had always been kind to him, although he was tempted to accept her offer. He graciously declined Hinata's assistance, saying, "Thanks Hinata, but I want to do this on my own." When Sakura saw the Hyuga girl, she felt a chill go through her head. Then, for a little instant, everything turned black. In a dark place, she saw Ino in front of her. The space surrounding them had vanished. Sakura said, "Ino, what's going on?" "I'm using my mind transfer jutsu on you to get your answers," Ino stated. "What?" cried Sakura. "This test is rigged, Sakura. You might be able to figure it out with how big your brain is in that big forehead, but I'm not quite that good." Sakura had seen that the questions were difficult, and only a really intelligent person could answer them without cheating. Luckily, she was intelligent. And before taking over her thoughts, Ino had been polite enough to inform her. "I'm gonna memorize your answers and then give them to Shikamaru and Choji," Ino replied. "All right," Sakura said with a nod, "but I'm gonna have to ask you to share them with Naruto too." Ino questioned, "Why? Because he's on your team." Sakura remarked, "You know I can always say you cheated. Either you help Naruto out with his test or I'll tell." "I should have just taken over and not alerted you," Ino grumbled. She took over Sakura's brain, committed the Pinkette's responses to memory, and then started passing them along to Naruto and her teammates. A wave swept across Naruto. He gave his eyes a massage. He looked at his paper and said, something felt weird. What happened? Did I fall asleep? Only to see that a lot of the queries had been addressed. What the? Cried Naruto. When did I do that? The words, you just suddenly began writing, were spoken by Hinata beside him. Naruto tightened his jaw. How did that happen? As he read the article, he noticed something in the corner. Sakura's name is next to a heart. Even as stupid as he was, Naruto put the pieces together after blushing. He had obtained the answers from Sakura somehow. When she caught his eye and smiled, he gave her a sheepish smile in return. Whatever she accomplished, he had an excellent chance of passing now. Or so he believed. All right, time is up for the first 9 questions, Ibiki said. Now for the 10th question. You should all know something first though. If you get this question wrong, you will be prohibited from taking the exams ever again. Everyone's spines tingled at it. You have a choice. You can step out now and take the exam next year, or you can stay and take your chances, Ibiki went on. Fail, you're a genin for the rest of your lives. A few of ninja chose to opt out as the words lingered in the air. It was tempting for Naruto too. With this 10th question, he doubted Sakura would have enough time to assist him. He wouldn't ever become Hokage if he spent the rest of his life as a genin, would he? This also applies to his teammates. He nearly raised his hand, but lowered it again. I never give up, exclaimed Naruto. I just have to take it, I'll become Hokage, even if I can't make Chunin or Jonin. Both Sakura and Sasuke grinned. He never really gave up. According to Ibiki, is that so? Good spirit kid. As they anticipated hearing the question, he glanced at each of them. No one else wishes to leave? Not one of them stood up. He grinned. You all pass, many of them exclaimed, what? Ibiki smiled a little. The answer to the 10th question was to simply stay. It was a chance, but when you're a ninja going on dangerous missions, you have to have the spirit and bravery to follow through for what you were assigned to do for the good of your village. You might have to jump down a dark pit with no sure way to stop yourself from falling, or fight an entire army by yourself. But no matter what you face, you must never give up or back down. Even when faced with torture such as this. When he took off his cap, his forehead was covered in a variety of scars, ranging from burns to cuts. This test was designed to test your information gathering. It encouraged cheating, since no ordinary genin would be expected to pass. I planted several chunin among you that knew the answers for you to copy off of. A number of individuals at the tables raised their hands to claim to be chunin, including the person directly in front of Naruto, whose mouth dropped wide. He had just allowed Sakura to assist him, even if the answers had been right in front of him. His vanity was wounded by that. However, Sakura grinned to herself because she was still a genin and had been able to figure out the answers on her own. Sakura trembled and was pleased to no longer see Ibiki's scar, so he replaced his hat to conceal it. Then the teacher started talking. Well, all of you will have to why. I'm present. A female voice said loudly. From the window above, a purple-haired woman with a spiky ponytail swooped down into the room. As usual, early, Anko, Ibiki remarked. Yep, I never keep anyone waiting. Fantastic, yelling idiot. Sakura pondered. She can occasionally be just as obnoxious as Naruto. Well, I discovered how to adore him. She gave a little gasp. Hold on, dear. Shaw, you're already in love with him, her inner voice said. How did this happen? She pondered. In contrast to my foolish crush on Sasuke, let's hope this love endures and is genuine. The woman named Anko glanced around and said, Ibiki, you must be getting soft because there are a lot of them this round. Looks like a total of around 20 teams. Ibiki informed her, well, it appears that these might be a more resilient group. Anko went on to speak to them, saying, well, they sure don't look it. Alright, listen up you maggots. Today. You may have gotten this far, but you're not gonna be so lucky with me. Now follow me. They left their chairs and returned to their squads. The two of them followed Anko out of the classroom. Hey, thanks for slipping me those answers, Sakura, Naruto replied. I probably would have ended up not answering a single question. No problem, Naruto. Though it was Ino who did that, Sakura replied. I asked her to help you out or I'd report her for cheating. Naruto questioned, huh? How'd she do that? Her mind transfer jutsu. What's that? Sakura grimaced. How did she come to adore this moron? Anko guided them to a tall, wired fence in front of a sizable, dark forest with a very visible caution sign. Risk. Avoid entering. Welcome to the next stage of the Chunin exams, remarked Anko. The Forest of Death. A lot of folks shuddered. Somehow, every rookie had made it out alive. Team 10. Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji. Team 8. Hinata, Shino, and Kiba. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura make up Team 7. Next came the boy with the bushy hair, Rock Lee, together with his comrades Tenten and Neji Hyuga, accompanied by additional ninja from different villages. Many of them, but still far fewer than had begun. It was going to be difficult. Well, I don't care what it's called. I can take it, answered Naruto. Even Sasuke grinned a little at his unending enthusiasm, which made Sakura smile. Anko remarked, "Oh, it appears that we have a tough guy here." She then hurled a kunai knife in Naruto's direction. Unable to respond, the blonde shouted. Sakura's mouth dropped open in alarm. However, he only sustained a minor scratch to his cheek. Her kunai proceeded to strike a tree close to a grass ninja woman's position. Anko then materialized behind Naruto, clutching his head. She remarked, "Not so tough after all it seems." Naruto tightened his jaw. Sakura continued to stare at the scene, but then something happened. The grass ninja appeared abruptly behind Anko, clutching the kunai she had just flung in her tongue. As the grass ninja held the kunai to Anko's throat, Sakura's face contorted in hatred, but she was also filled with terror. The Jonin gave the ninja a suspicious glance. The woman explained, "I was just giving back your kunai." "Grass ninja," Anko remarked. "Why thank you." The woman returned the knife and remarked, "There's a bloody odor in the air." Sakura remarked, "She definitely gives me the creeps." She was also quick. Perhaps too quickly, Sasuke pondered beside her. The lady started to return to her team. She looked over at Sasuke. Then she used her real, masculine intellect to think. "I will soon have the opportunity to witness your portrayal of Sasuke Uchiha. See how you stack up against your brother." "All right. Let's get started," said Anko. "Let me go over the rules. There are 2 scrolls that will be handed out." She pointed to some scrolls on a bench close by. Both have kanjis that read, Heaven, and Earth, one white and the other dark blue. Anko went on to say, "Each team will receive 1 scroll, but to pass the test you must acquire the other one as well. If you have a Heaven scroll you must acquire an Earth scroll and vice versa." "Acquire them?" inquired Naruto. According to Anko, from other teams, so as soon as you enter the Forest of Death, it's an all-out tournament. Find a team that has the scroll you need, and acquire it however you can, stealing, beat them up, or even kill them. It doesn't matter how. Just do it. Sakura's perspiration fell. Since all of the other ninja here were genin ranked, she would have to battle other ninja, possibly even her former classmates and friends like Ino and Hinata. Sasuke's expression remained the same. He would stop at nothing. With a sly smile, Naruto anticipated the task. "In addition to other teams you will also encounter bloodthirsty beasts," said Anko. "Now, come up as a team one by one, then run into the forest." The genin teams advanced, gradually disappearing into the Forest of Death. The stacks of scrolls in heaven and earth started to diminish as they proceeded. The voice cried out, "Hey Sasuke! Sakura!" Sakura turned to see that Ino had made the call. They possessed a white scroll, the earth one, she saw. Sasuke also observed this. All Naruto did was squint his eyes and pace impatiently. "Good luck," called Ino. "Thanks, Ino." "You too," Sakura exclaimed, gesturing to her longtime companion. Although it occurred to him that he might say something, Sasuke remained silent while glancing at his surviving fangirl. But he didn't. "I can't let girls divert my attention," Sasuke pondered in his mind. "Sasuke, get a grip. To destroy Itachi, you must concentrate on strengthening yourself. Then perhaps." Ino said, "See you later. Come on Shikamaru, Choji." The Forest of Death is where Team 10 disappeared to. Gaara and his siblings were thereafter joined by the Sand Ninja Trio. Team 8 came next. Hinata stammered, "Good luck, Naruto," as she turned to face him. Naruto glanced around and said, Someone say something?" Sakura narrowed her brows in jealousy, scarcely hearing it. Team 8 entered first, then others. At last, it was Team 7's turn. With a, "You get a heaven scroll," Anko gave them one. To Naruto's dismay, Sasuke snatched the scroll. The blonde said, "Hey, why do you get the scroll?" "Because I'm the strongest," according to Sasuke. "I think that would be the best choice," Sakura concurred. "No offense, Naruto." Naruto let out a sigh. He might not yet be on par with Sasuke, but he would be one day. Well, go in, told Anko. The second round of their Chunin exams was about to start, so they rushed through the gate. They sprinted through the gloomy, dark woods. Very little light came through the tops of the trees. Sasuke remarked, "Well, no one's attacked us. Good thing we did a little zigzagging and didn't go straight. I figured that might lead us into a team looking to ambush the next one that came through." Naruto stepped up to a nearby tree and unzipped his pants, saying, "Well, I need to pee." Sakura screamed, blushing, "Oh no, not in front of me you don't," before running over and slapping him on the head. "Go into the woods a little bit so I don't have to see." Rubbing his head, Naruto said, "Ow, okay," and disappeared into the woods. Sakura and Sasuke waited for Naruto to come back in silence. Before long, he did. "Well, I'm back," declared Naruto. "Phew, you wouldn't how bad I had to go." I don't want to hear it," Sakura exclaimed, disgusted. After giving Naruto a quick glance, Sasuke sprang at him and punched him in the jaw. "Sasuke!" cried Sakura. "It's not that bad." Sasuke simply kept striking Naruto, who rolled aside and used his left hand to pull a kunai. Naruto said, "Hey, what's wrong with you? Careful Sakura, I think someone's gone crazy." Sasuke inquired, "Where's the real Naruto?" Sakura let out a gasp. "Naruto!" exclaimed. "What are you talking about? I'm the real Naruto." Sasuke inquired, "Then where is that cut on your cheek?" I know Naruto has a quick healing ability, but there was still blood left from the wound. Sakura did not notice any dried blood on Naruto's face. Furthermore, she had never saw Naruto utilize his kunai in that manner. According to Sasuke, and Naruto fights with his right hand, she said. Not his left. Your equipment pack is on the opposite hip, and your transformation jutsu is even worse than Naruto's. Naruto appeared taken aback by them, then smiled and reversed the change, exposing a dark-haired, tanned mist ninja with a mask over his mouth. Though he lacked spikes, he somewhat reminded Sakura of the demon brothers they had encountered en route to the wave. The opponent said, "Okay, you got me, but I'm still taking that scroll." He approached Sasuke, but the Uchiha sliced his shoulder and easily repelled him. When he realized he was outmatched, the enemy ninja let out a painful grunt. Sakura and Sasuke chased after him as he started to back off. Before long, they discovered the real Naruto bound among some bushes. Naruto yelled, "Hey, get me out of here." Sasuke clenched his jaw at the folly and hurled a kunai with exceptional accuracy. His shot didn't hurt Naruto at all, but it did sever the rope that was binding him. Naruto said, "Thank you," and stood up. Sakura ran up to Naruto as Sasuke pursued the opposing ninja. She flung her arms around him and said worriedly, "Are you okay?" When Naruto made touch with his crush, he flushed. Yeah. I'm fine. We better help Sasuke though." They spotted the Uchiha by themselves, but they soon caught up to Sasuke. Sasuke said, "He got away," with disappointment, "but he might come back, be on your guard." After that little fear, they went into the woods to seek shelter and to come up with a strategy. "Well, we can't take a chance after what just happened. We got lucky since that guy's transformation skills were even worse than yours, Naruto, but we can't take a chance." Naruto nodded, either seeing the significance of this first or failing to notice that Sasuke had essentially ridiculed his jutsu skill. Sakura said, "So, what do you think we should do?" "We'll need a password, a question and an answer." Naruto inquired, "And what will that be?" Sasuke began, "The question will be, when does a ninja strike? And the answer will be, when he is at the fullest advantage. When all enemies have let their guard down or sound asleep and their weapons lie forgotten. You got that?" Sakura laughed. "Yeah, I got it." Naruto scowled. "Don't you think we can come up with something a little shorter?" "The words?" "No, Naruto," said Sasuke. Sakura glanced at her admirer. That lengthy password would be impossible for Naruto to remember. But then it dawned on her astute intellect. He would be an imposter if he ever got that correctly. They were suddenly struck by a tremendous gust of wind that carved a long, deep slash in the ground. They concealed and dispersed. When the dust disappeared, Sakura noticed. "Sasuke!" she cried out. "Sakura?" he asked, turning around. "Yes," she answered, moving gently toward him while anxiously scanning the area for Naruto. "Hold on, when does a ninja strike?" "Oh right," exclaimed Sakura. "A ninja strikes when all enemies have let their guard down, are sound asleep and weapons lay forgotten." Sasuke gave a nod. Sakura was her name. Well, where'd Naruto go? The blonde's voice said, I'm right here, as he emerged. Sakura said, hold on, what's the password? Oh yeah. When does a ninja strike? When all enemies have let their guard down and weapons are forgotten, Naruto replied. Sakura turned to face Sasuke, who gave a nod. Naruto was then charged by both. He seemed to have little trouble dodging their blows, very effortlessly, perhaps without even appearing. What are you guys doing? I answered your password, he demanded. No way a loser like you who has no brain could ever get the password right, Sasuke replied. Sakura said, yeah, at least Naruto wouldn't guess the password correctly. The Naruto we know and love isn't smart enough for that. Sasuke implied that he loved Naruto by making a disgusting expression at the girl. The comments brought back memories of the kiss they had unintentionally shared when Naruto landed on him. As though the mere thought made Sasuke ill. But at least he valued Naruto as a comrade. And you definitely don't move like Naruto. Your moves are much too advanced. Naruto gave them a look before grinning like the other imposter from before. However, his was somehow far more malicious. As Naruto licked his lips, his tongue appearing to protrude a little more than usual, Sakura felt a chill go down her spine. In a recognizable female voice, he asked, aren't we the clever ones? Additionally, the metamorphosis jutsu that had been flawless this time disappeared, revealing their new attacker. The woman was the one who used her tongue to return Enko's kunai knife. When Sakura remembered how swift the woman had been, she shuddered and felt the chills again. Tell me, if your teammate is really that dim-witted, why would you come up with a password he couldn't even remember? She inquired. Sasuke stated, that password wasn't intended for Naruto. It was for any enemies that might be eavesdropping. I'm impressed, she said gratefully. You certainly haven't dropped your guard, have you? This promises to be very entertaining. Sakura trembled, feeling frightened out once more as she licked her lips. However, another idea crossed her mind. Naruto is where? Naruto was moaning as he lay on his stomach. I must have been blown away. Why's it always me? As soon as the agony subsided, he looked up and was shocked by what he saw. An enormous snake, green eyes, brown, emotionless. The image made him shudder in terror. He ducked as the serpent pounced at him, but it soon followed and encircled him with its coils. It engulfed him, preventing him from moving and allowing him to only scream. He lowered himself and hung just over the stomach, trying to grasp the inside of the throat. How could he? How could he? Naruto pulled a rice ball out of his pouch and tossed it down the snake's neck, saying, come on, I'm sure you'd like this better. It vanished in a second. In a few minutes, when he was unable to hold on and plummeted deeper, that would be him. He needed to take action, help his companions and get out of here. Sasuke and Sakura were in front of the woman who pulled out a scroll. When they realized it was the Earth Scroll, the one they required, they gasped. Ah, you'd love to get yours hands on our Earth Scroll, wouldn't you? She said. She gulped the scroll carefully. That was eerie and repulsive. The two ninja looked on in disbelief. Even Sasuke, who is normally composed and in control, was gaping. Well, when this is all over, one of us will have both scrolls, and the other will be dead. The two young genin appeared to be frozen in place. They witnessed an incredible sight unfold, with Sakura yelling, Sasuke's arm extending skyward, and blood spurting from the surrounding trees. They had been struck, but the vision caused them to go over, and then they were back to normal. Is this a delusion? Sasuke pondered. No, it goes beyond that. She has a nearly palpable craving for blood. Who is she? Who is she? He turned to face Sakura, but noticed that she was trembling. It was harsher for her than for him. They needed to leave this place. She was death, this woman. Get moving. Sasuke, get moving. The Uchiha pondered. He pulled himself to his feet and gently drew his kunai. Still unable to move completely, he looked into her eyes. Don't worry, I'll make it quick. But I don't have to tell you that, do I? You've seen it with your own eyes. She simultaneously raised both of her kunai gently, and hurled them both. The snake still had Naruto in its throat. Did it finish like this for him? He visualized the faces of his loved ones. Old Man Hokage, Sakura, Konohamaru, Iruka-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, and most importantly, her. He appeared to be winning her over once she finally opened up to him. Naruto exclaimed, what a life we might have had together, Sakura, since he was certain that he was running out of time. He imagined Sakura and him together, with her holding flowers by his side while wearing a white bridal gown. His silly grin and her lovely smile. Them with their kids. The guy wearing the Hokage hat. Naruto opened his eyes. I can't let that future die here, I have to become Hokage. And I will be with Sakura. There was another face. Sasuke. He always aimed to defeat his rival. They had challenged one another to determine who was superior. Eating and exercising. They would eventually face off in a final battle to determine who was the more formidable ninja. I'm gonna become stronger than Sasuke too. I'll beat him someday, said Naruto. I'm not gonna die. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A group of Narutos materialized in the serpent, which grew and burst. Sasuke shifted as the blood flowed. He had used his kunai to stab his own leg. It had caused just enough pain to overcome the anxiety that was holding him in place, but not enough to cause a catastrophic harm. Grabbing Sakura, he fled. They took refuge in the trees. Once they were out of range, Sakura quickly recovered from her own paralysis. It had been a shrewd, if desperate, move. Sakura inquired anxiously, "That wound's deep, are you all right?" He peered over his shoulder, shaking, and covered her mouth. Sasuke has never looked like this to me, Sakura pondered. I'm afraid of him. She seemed to have lost the ninja she so greatly adored. What was going to occur? A shadow suddenly crept across them. Sakura looked over her shoulder and noticed a huge snake. Sasuke. Watch out! They leapt to the side. Sasuke was shocked that he hadn't anticipated it. He saw a picture of her, their pursuer, when he looked at the snake. That made him anxious. No, stay away, he shouted, hurling his shuriken. The woman appeared from the inside of the snake's neck as it fell dead. Her words were, I sense your fear and desperation. It's only normal for the prey to be vigilant at all times, even while their attacker is around. After that, she went like a snake, coiling up the tree trunk to reach Sasuke, but all of a sudden, weapons were thrown in her direction, and everyone turned to see who it was coming from. It appears like I arrived right on schedule, Naruto said. Naruto. Sakura exclaimed in relief and happiness, feeling the impulse to run up and give him a hug, but she decided that this was not the right moment. Oh, and what was that password once more? Naruto inquired. Since he was unable to obtain the password, it was him. Naruto, leave this place, again. You have no idea what you were up to, Sasuke yelled. The woman responded something like, so, Naruto, you managed to escape from my friend. Naruto recognized that she had sent the snake, or whatever it was, and Sasuke looked at him, but he was clearly not understanding. All right, I'm not sure what's been going on, but I don't like it when you make fun of my buddies. So before I turn you into a pair of shoes, you had better just crawl back into your hole, snake lady, Naruto exclaimed. Sasuke clenched his jaw. He needed to take action before the careless blonde killed them all. Sakura saw that his fear persisted. At last, Sasuke devised a scheme. It's yours. That's what you want, isn't it? Sasuke replied, pulling the scroll out of his pocket and throwing it to her. Leave us alone and take it. Sakura and Naruto stared at him in disbelief. What are you doing, Sasuke? You're simply going to give the enemy our scroll. Are you insane? Stop talking and don't get involved, Naruto was shouted at by Sasuke. Very wise, very sensible, she replied. Sometimes the prey must distract the predator with something even more precious. Grab it. Sasuke hurled the scroll in her direction. No. Before the scroll could reach her, Naruto sprang at it, snatched it, and bounced back, landing on the branch next Sasuke. Cease being the hero. Leave me alone and don't get involved. Though not targeting the adversary, Naruto targeted a blow. Sakura was shocked when he struck Sasuke in the jaw. What a dumbass. What are you doing? You have no idea. I might not know the password, Naruto said, panting. However, I am aware of you. The same cannot be said for you. What are you discussing, Naruto? It's him, Sakura said. Stop this bullshit. I'm the loser, Sasuke said. You're lying. I know a Sasuke who would never give up. You have suffocated. True, but sad. As long as I can murder you and seize the scroll, it makes no difference, said the woman. We'll see you give it a shot, as he charged in, Naruto said. Naruto retreated for a while until she called forth another snake, and the snake swung out and flung him against a tree. He fell back toward the snake, seeming unconscious as it prepared to eat him, but he opened his eyes, which had turned a ferocious crimson. Suck this up, he shouted. To the surprise of everyone, including the woman, he used his bare hands to strike the snake and forced it back. That power. Maybe it's the 9 tails, Sakura pondered. Sasuke exclaimed, Whoa, is that Naruto? When Naruto hit again, the woman threw a ball of fire at him, knocking him down and shattering a few branches. Naruto. Sakura let out a shriek. Then the woman's gaze shifted to Sasuke. Well, Sasuke, let's see how you fare, she uttered those words. She lunged at him with her snake. Sasuke, Sakura let out another worried scream. When Naruto observed the snake and the woman pursuing his competitor, he shifted, and Sasuke grunted in fear. The gigantic serpent's nose was inches from Sasuke's body, and Naruto stood in front of him, protecting him, while the snake fell lifeless, Naruto's kunai buried deep in its face. Hey, young one. You don't feel hurt, do you? You're a scaredy cat. Gazing at Sasuke, Naruto uttered those words. It was the same slur he had given Naruto back when they confronted the demon brothers, and Sasuke winced. Like a frozen rabbit, standing there, I don't recognize you as Sasuke, Naruto said. The lady had decided on the dead snake. The nine-tailed brat is extraordinary, so he lives, she thought before turning her gaze from Naruto to Sasuke. The Uchiha's eyes are a wonderful prize, but the nine tails, with that I could have more chakra than any human. Yes. That is the strongest possible vessel. And I could take Sasuke's eyes later. Just pluck them out instead of trying to take over his body like I did Itachi. I believe I've seen enough. This charade needs to end. As Naruto turned around, Sakura and Sasuke both looked at her as she reached up and pulled off her own face, revealing his true face in front of them. His eyes were golden. His hair was the same long black color as Haku's, because only his face had been covered, and his skin was deathly white with a purple mark. Who are you? Naruto inquired, why the disguise? The man added, my name is Orochimaru, in his authentic voice, and I wanted to see the young ninja that my former village has to offer. Meeting Itachi's younger brother piqued my interest the most. The thought of his brother, the one who had betrayed and killed the rest of his clan, made Sasuke cringe. Can you tell me anything about my brother? Sasuke questioned, struggling to speak. I guess a lot. Orochimaru stated, I had intended to do to you what I was unable to do to him. He is strong, cold, and ruthless. Unfortunately, though, your friend is correct. I am no longer interested in you since you were a coward. I believe I've discovered someone with much greater promise. At the same moment, Orochimaru reached into Naruto's sack and took the scroll he had taken from Sasuke. Orochimaru's tongue stretched out to an unnatural level, wrapping around Naruto as he struggled in disgust and then stepping forward with his teeth turning into fangs that bit into Naruto's neck, causing him to scream in pain as a 3-tomo mark appeared on his neck. Naruto. No. Sakura let out a shriek. At the scene, Sasuke trembled once more. Sakura leapt forward and placed her hands on Orochimaru's shoulders as his neck returned to normal and Naruto writhed in agony, losing his balance. Naruto. She let out a scream. When Sasuke saw his friend injured, his terror finally subsided, and he sprang over and rounded on Orochimaru. How did you treat him? Sasuke questioned angrily. Orochimaru said, I just gave him a small parting gift. Naruto will come to me for power in the near future. Farewell. Naruto shouted, grabbed Sakura's hand, and passed out in her arms before he fled in a cloud of smoke, leaving Sakura and Sasuke to tend to their injured buddy. Naruto. Sakura gave him a hug as she spoke. Sasuke felt like a complete coward as he processed what had just happened. Naruto had outdone him. He had fought to defend them even when it seemed hopeless. His brother's voice and I were playing in his head. Damn you, little brother. Get out and live. No. When he eventually gritted his teeth and broke out of it, Sasuke replied. He glanced back to where their attacker had been, wondering how he could ever hope to confront Itachi if he couldn't force himself to face that man. Orochimaru. He yelled. With an angry sigh, Sasuke said, if I ever see him again, I will not be a coward. There was no answer. I apologize, Sakura, he said, turning to face her as she clung to Naruto. I failed you and Naruto. She cried softly and said, it's all right, help me with Naruto, please. After setting up a few defensive traps and finding a hiding spot beneath a tree, they could now only pray Naruto would recover. How is he doing? Sasuke inquired. Well, his fever's gone down, Sakura replied, but there's this mark on his neck. They noticed that Naruto was hurt and that they had misplaced the scroll, thus they would need to take not just an Earth Scroll but also a Heaven Scroll in order to pass the test. That thing, Sasuke, claimed that Naruto would approach him in search of authority. Sakura uttered those words. I know, answered Sasuke. What does it mean, in your opinion? I don't know. As Naruto lay still, they gazed at their comrade with concern. He couldn't possibly betray them, could he? Naruto was led to a hiding spot behind a tree by Sakura and Sasuke. Sakura was tending to their teammate when Sasuke came back from setting the traps. With sincere concern, Sasuke inquired, "How is he, Sakura?" She turned to face Naruto, who was wearing a damp cloth over his eyes. "Well, his fever's gone down," but they examined the mark on the back of Naruto's neck as she carefully rolled him over. The mark was encircled by that red chakra they had seen, seemingly in an attempt to combat it. She was now aware that the chakra, which had been locked inside Naruto, belonged to the nine-tailed fox. Naturally, Sasuke didn't, because he had already departed after their chat. However, he said nothing. Sakura questioned why the nine-tails chakra was just acting strangely in that vicinity. The nine tails snarled ominously inside the seal. It did not like that it could sense the foreign chakra's impact. Then all of a sudden, the person who had made the new chakra appeared in that form. The seal contained Orochimaru, or his consciousness. "Well, Nine Tails, we meet at last." The fox inquired, "What do you want, Orochimaru of the Sannin?" "I want a great many things. Power, the ability to master all jutsu available to men, immortality. Just imagine how much closer I could come to those goals if I had your chakra at my disposal." The fox questioned, "So you wish to steal me from out of this boy's body?" "Yes, but before you go and try to remove my curse mark from his body, I have a proposition for you," Orochimaru replied. "My curse mark will make the boy more angry more often and therefore make it easier for you to let your chakra flow through him. That is what you desire after all, is it not? The boy will use your chakra and the seal will weaken with time, then you will be free." The Nine Tails questioned, "You offer to help me escape?" "You might have a chance," was Orochimaru's statement. "I don't need the boy after all, only you. Of course it might be easier to take over Naruto's body with you inside, but I'm more than up for the sport of taking on the greatest of the tailed beasts." Demon Fox snarled, "You arrogant snake. I loathe you, but you make a good case. Very well, I will allow your curse mark to remain on the boy's body. But I will be free sooner, and then when we meet in person I shall eat you." "We shall see," Orochimaru stated. Orochimaru sat meditating in the forest, focusing his intent on Naruto's seal as his mind returned to his corporeal form. The boy need to get better. There is typically a 1 in 10 chance of surviving that specific curse mark. Orochimaru pondered. However, because the Nine Tails can mend, his chances of surviving will be substantially higher. I'm going to test him now with my underlings. A few hours later, outside the tree where Team 7 had taken cover, 3 ninjas emerged. Sasuke sat up and observed Sakura as she slept. He turned on his Sharingan as he heard a slight stir in the distance. He shook Sakura, quickly recognizing the chakra signatures of 3 ninja. "Sakura, wake up!" The kunoichi with the pink hair opened her eyes. Smiling, "What's wrong?" "Simply put, we got trouble," Sasuke informed her. She stood up, and the two of them stood before Naruto. Last night, they had alternated viewing with her first. 3 ninjas were outside in the morning. It had 2 guys and 1 girl, much like their own squad. In addition to wearing a poncho and a straw cape on his slumped back, the first man had only 1 eye visible due to the bandages covering it. The 3 of them wore headbands with the Sound Village sign of a musical note and gray and black scarves with snake patterns. The remaining man and lady both had dark hair and eyes. Well, we got 2 ninja here," the man with the dark hair replied. "And I think that guy's the rookie of the year. Hopefully he can be a challenge to me." Lord Orochimaru said that he was pretty disappointed and didn't mark him like planned. When the name was mentioned, Sasuke clenched his jaw. "That Orochimaru person is served by these guys. With us, what does he want?" "Easy there, Zaku," spoke the hunchback. "Those Uchiha are famous throughout all the lands." When Zaku responded, Yeah, don't worry, just leave this to me." He held up his hands. Sasuke saw something approaching with his Sharingan, and his eyes widened. He called, "Sakura, look out!" When Zaku's attack split the earth in front of him and struck where they had been, leaving a pathed scar in the forest, Sasuke grabbed Naruto and they both moved out of the way. Sakura and Sasuke were able to escape the explosion. Sasuke hurled several kunai at the traps they had set as they moved. Shuriken covered a wide area as they flew out toward the opposition team from all sides. Sasuke had succeeded in hitting several targets with precision thanks to his training. Although he wasn't quite at his brother's level, he was making progress. They were struck by the shuriken. Zaku's eyes widened. He could blow them away with his air pressure if it were only one pair, but not all 4 at once. Thankfully, they had a backup strategy. The shuriken appeared to hit their target. However, as the dust settled, the two alert members of Team 7 noticed 3 logs where their adversaries had been. Oh no! All the traps were wasted. Sasuke pondered. Well, let's simply take them on. He glanced toward Zaku, the primary attacker. Based on his observations, the man was employing a form of jutsu that was emitted from his hands as air pressure. Sasuke had his own long-range attacks, but he was unable to get near. Sasuke quickly sealed his hands and hurled a jutsu at them. Phoenix Flower Jutsu. Several tiny fireballs are directed toward them. Simply extending his hands once more, Zaku launched another current at the attack, which vanished, only to uncover a pair of shuriken in the midst of the flames. Feeling the guns enter him, Zaku screamed and collapsed. As he landed in front of them, Sasuke grinned and exclaimed, "One down, 2 to go." The woman exclaimed, "Stupid Zaku, underestimating our opponent, Dosu?" Dosu remarked, "I can handle this one, Kin," as the man only had one eye visible. Sasuke commanded, "Sakura, you handle the woman." As Sakura heard this, she threw Naruto against the tree's back and jumped out again. She scowled at the woman as she turned to face her. Sakura's green eyes met Kin's black ones as she scowled back. Sakura ducked when the woman tossed Senbon at her, then grinned. "Senbon?" She scoffed at him. "I've seen those before, they aren't lethal." Kin seemed to pull on air as she said, "There if you aim for the right spot." Then Sakura heard a bell and saw that the Senbon had a slender, nearly invisible rope attached to it. She noticed a small one fastened to the Senbon's string when she looked up. Then everything was hazy. Kin inquired, "What's the matter?" Sakura noticed several kin when she stared at her. "Can't see properly. My genjutsu tends to have that effect," Kin replied. Sakura blinked, but knowing it was a genjutsu, she put her hands in a seal and grinned once more. Release. The copies of Kin abruptly disappeared. The sound Kunoichi cried out, "What? Good thing I had Kurenai-sensei teaching me not only to use genjutsu but how to dispel it as well," Sakura said. "First time doing that though, worked like a charm I'd say." Kin tightened her jaw. For a more deadly direct strike, she pulled her kunai from her purse. Sakura followed suit. She noticed that Dosu and Sasuke were practicing taijutsu behind them, with the hunchback holding his own. After that, Sasuke joined them in line. Dosu yelled, "Kin, move aside." Dosu lifted his right arm as Kin leapt to the side. Sakura and Sasuke both screamed when a fresh sound-based attack was launched at them. They were immobile and their ears ringing. Sakura caught a glimpse of Kin sprinting in the direction of the tree where Naruto had been concealed. She was pursuing him. "No!" screamed Sakura. Kin sprang to reach Naruto by navigating the tree's roots. However, someone stepped in front of her out of the blue. Kin was flung back after being struck in the chest by a palm. There, a young girl with raven hair landed. "Hinata!" cried Sakura. Hinata scowled at Zaku and Kin as they stirred. She positioned herself in front of the tree's enormous roots. "You will not harm Naruto while I stand here." Both Sakura and Sasuke were happy to have some assistance despite their ringing ears. However, technically, Hinata was still an opponent. Kiba and Shino emerged out of nowhere. "Looks like Team 7 is in a bit of a bind," Kiba stated. "How about we help out our fellow Leaf Shinobi? While this is a competition and we are technically opponents, you Sound Ninja seem more concerned with killing one of our comrades than getting his team's scroll," Shino stated. Another team observed these three about to engage in combat from the tops of the trees. "Well, looks like that big shot rookie of the year here was all talk. Here he is getting an earful from those ninjas of the sound," Kankuro stated. Telling her siblings, "We already got ourselves 2 scrolls. No need to stick around here," Tamari said. "I want to watch this," Gaara said. They sat quietly. Sasuke was the main focus of Gaara's attention. But there was a surprise in store for him. Zaku stood up. Glaring at Sasuke, who was still recuperating from Dosu's attack, he withdrew the shuriken. Although he had fought hard, he wasn't in good physical condition at the time. Utilizing his adversary's condition, Zaku launched a blast of air pressure at the Uchiha, knocking him off his feet and dealing some good damage. Sakura cried out, "Sasuke," for her comrade. Sasuke was defeated. Kiba cried out, "Hang on Sasuke. We'll give you a hand," and he immediately started to move. A bark from close by said, "ARRF," and Akamaru the puppy emerged. He had been so tiny that they had failed to notice him. Zaku was charged by the ninja hound and his master. "Ha!" Dosu said, brandishing his sound-producing weapon, the resonating echo speaker. The two dogs' ears instantly started to ring with sound. Kiba yelled because his dog-based jutsu made his hearing very sensitive. When Shino summoned his own jutsu, insects flew out of his arms and charged toward Zaku, who then lifted his arms once again. Shino stood composedly. With a smile, Zaku fired a blast. Or at least intended to. Instead, the device on his arms exploded. "R!" exclaimed Zaku. "Zaku!" Dosu cried out. Zaku noticed that there were bugs crawling out of the parts of the device on his arms. Shino stated, "I filled your device with my parasitic insects while you weren't looking." Dosu looked around and saw that Sakura, Shino, and Hinata were still standing, so he didn't back down, his one visible eye narrowing as he prepared to take them all on, but then his determination seemed to vanish as his eye widened at something. Zaku moaned in pain, his arms too damaged to continue fighting even with taijutsu. "What's wrong?" Sakura mockingly inquired, "Have you lost your confidence?" "I don't think that's the case," Shino replied. "Look behind us." They saw Naruto, but he was different from the Naruto they had seen before. His eyes were red, as they had been when the Nine Tails chakra had been utilized, and he also had black flame tattoos all over his face. "Sakura," Naruto said, his voice deeper than normal. "What happened to you, Naruto?" Shaking, Sakura asked. "Don't stress over me. I feel fantastic," Naruto remarked. "That snake lady gave me a gift, and it strengthened me." Then he saw Akamaru, Kiba, and Sasuke on the ground. "Who carried that out?" Naruto snarled. "That would be those guys," Shino said, pointing to Zaku, who was still holding onto his injured arms, and Dosu. Kin hissed at Hinata as she opened her eyes abruptly. "That little girl will cost you money. You're all going to pay for playing with my friends," Naruto growled. Although he wasn't particularly close to Shino, Sasuke was his teammate. Hinata, who had not yet been hurt, only threatened, was fine, and he had never done anything wrong to Naruto. Kiba had been a fellow delinquent in the academy with whom he would get into trouble, even if he was bothersome. "Oh no, I'm going to take on everyone right now," Naruto uttered those words. "Kid, let's see you give it a go," as she tossed her senbon, Kin yelled. "Wait a minute." Dosu yelled in alarm. He had recognized the mark, a curse mark from his master that gave one more chakra and power, but why would he have sent Dosu and the others to murder Naruto if he had branded him? Sakura's mouth dropped open as Naruto effortlessly grasped the senbon in his fingers. Only a Jonin should possess such quick reflexes. Naruto then vanished, striking Kin on the back of the head and sending her hurting into the tree. She screamed in agony as he growled and moved closer to her. "Maybe you'd appreciate it if I clawed up your face. No one threatens my friends," Naruto snarled. "In any case, it's not particularly attractive." As the boy, no, the monster, came closer, Kin started to shake with terror. "You beast, stay away from me," crawling backwards, Kin said. "Monster? I'll show you a monster," inquired Naruto. The others watched in horror as he flashed his sharpened teeth. Sakura and Hinata's eyes flickered, and Shino stood, his face concealed by his jacket but nonetheless filled with sheer terror. Naruto raised his hand, his fingernails extended into claws, and he brought them down on Kin, leaving 5 deep scratches on her face before kicking her away. "He's never been that violent before. Is that truly Naruto?" Hinata shuddered as she watched. Meanwhile, Sakura recalled the Naruto who used to smile and laugh with her, but this couldn't be him. It had to be the fox inside of him, or someone else. After focusing on Dosu, Naruto, or whatever he was, looked at Zaku and saw that, despite his own stupidity, Zaku was too weak to fight, so Naruto moved his focus to the only adversary still alive. "You will first experience my anger, before casting a final threatening look at Zaku," Naruto stated, "and you're next." Dosu could only shudder as Naruto moved closer, but Sakura quickly regained her energy and charged forward. "Naruto, hold on." With tears streaming down her face, she yelled and grabbed him from behind. The marks on his face, and the rest of his body concealed by his clothes, faded as Naruto paused, heard her sobbing, felt her put her arms around him, and slowly turned around to see her. What was he thinking? This wasn't what he would do. Zaku continued to grit his teeth before collapsing in agony, unable to remain conscious any longer, while Dosu sighed with relief. As he held his allies by the arm and on his stooped back, Dosu muttered, "Thank you for sparing us. You can have our scroll in return." When they arrived at the tower, they needed to take out an earth scroll in order to move on to the next round. "Who is this Orochimaru? I wonder," What did he do to Naruto, too? Sakura inquired. Why Naruto? We were only instructed to kill him, Dosu said without turning around. However, I now realize that it was a test for him. They disappeared, leaving the two Leaf Shinobi squads alone, or so they believed, and they gathered up Sasuke, Akamaru, and Kiba. Hinata pulled out a family-owned healing bomb, and they soon awoke. What took place? Sasuke inquired. Naruto wanted to celebrate saving the day, but even he was aware that he had essentially lost control. We got rid of the sound ninja and we're all okay, Sakura stated. Yes, said Shino. Sasuke said, we better split up, and stood up. They looked to Team 8. She said, thanks for your help, Sakura. The two sets of Leaf Shinobi parted as they all nodded, but Hinata was equally uneasy about Naruto's display and the two chakra mixtures. Well, they still needed to get another scroll to move forward while Team 7 was in front of them, and she and Shino didn't want to confront what they had just witnessed in Naruto, though they didn't say it out loud. The Sand siblings were equally astounded and appalled up in the trees. Wow! I had assumed that the Uzumaki brat was the weakest of all of them, Kankuro cried out. He certainly appears different now than he did a short time ago, Tamari said. Gaara observed the performance with his typical expressionless face, but he was experiencing a lot of emotions on the inside, including surprise, confusion, and fear. That boy is similar to me, but he felt darker for some reason, and then that feeling went away. He has people who care about him, like that girl. In any case, it seems like I underestimated him. He has a monster inside of him, but my motivation to live is stronger. He has friends who are a burden to him, and if we fight, they will kill him. After stumbling through the forest with their scrolls in hand, Team 7 made their way to the tower where they were to be for the next round of the Chunin exams. They stopped to catch a few fish in a stream, which gave them a boost of energy, and then they ran to the tower, since they already had both scrolls, so there was no reason to delay. They ran as long and fast as their legs would allow, and after what seemed like a long time, they arrived at the tower. They pulled out their scrolls and opened them when they noticed some instructions above in the structure that looked like an arena. Sasuke's eyes widened as he read the writing. It was a summoning jutsu. Sakura Naruto, throw those scrolls away, he yelled. Even though Naruto detested following Sasuke's instructions, the two shinobi knew better than to question their teammate. A person emerged from the scrolls as a plume of smoke emerged from them. The voice was recognizable. Well, it's been a long time, it said. The man emerged as the smoke cleared. Sensei Iruka? Sakura asked. Yep, and I see you're as sharp as ever, Sasuke, stated the head of the school. Those scrolls are equipped with summoning jutsus to bring the people overseeing the younger shinobi here, which includes their senseis. Hearing Sasuke get the praise caused Naruto's eyebrow to twitch, but as he processed the next words, his expression brightened. So, will Kakashi-sensei be present? Oh no, before placing a hand to his neck, which abruptly burned, he asked. Are you okay, Naruto? Iruka inquired. Naruto, isn't that mark there again? Sakura walked up to him and inquired. Naruto nodded, still feeling the pain from whatever Orochimaru had done to him to cause the mark. Get some sleep, you three. Iruka looked at Naruto anxiously and remarked, it will take a little time for everyone else to get here. In the next 24 hours or so, teams reported in and opened their scrolls, calling forth more Jonin and even the Hokage himself from the Hidden Leaf village. Team 7 gathered down with the other participants since it was almost time to start, and they noticed both Ino and Hinata's squads. However, they also. Kakashi-sensei. Sakura uttered those words. In front of them their disguised sensei had materialized. Hey everyone, I'm happy you've reached this point. I heard you had some trouble, but I need all the details, Kakashi stated. After they finished telling him about Orochimaru and the sound ninja attack, he appeared solemn. Well, this isn't good, Kakashi remarked, adding that one of the biggest dangers to our community is Orochimaru. And his curse markings aren't good, based on what we know. They strengthen the user, but they also carry his power and evil. But why would he harm Naruto in that way? Sakura inquired. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll do what I can to put a stop to it, Kakashi stated. How? Naruto inquired. However, it will take time. There is a technique that can seal that curse mark and prevent it from affecting you, Kakashi explained. We might have to take care of that first if your match is the first up. Sakura glanced at Naruto, who was still in pain and had a little twisted face. Sakura remarked, Naruto, you might want to give up. You're hurting, and if you're hurting too much, you won't be able to fight. Since we've come this far, we shouldn't have to operate as a three-man team any longer, right? It's up to you, Naruto, Kakashi remarked. That's true. I'm not giving up, said Naruto, shaking his head. I'll work with this thing on myself if I have to. However, Naruto, Sakura, don't attempt to dissuade me, Naruto growled. She instantly regretted his tone and shrank back at his rage. Oh, Sakura, I apologize. The words, I didn't mean to sound that harsh, Naruto said. Kakashi remarked, that might be the curse mark. We'll see who gets it first and then take appropriate action. The proctor, Hayate Gecko, took over after their sensei left. Because of the large amount of ninja still here, we will be holding an extra round to cut it in half. This preliminary round will consist of one-on-one fights between two ninjas, so unlike the previous rounds you will need to rely on your teammates. From this moment even they're your adversaries as well, Hayate stated. When Kabuto stated, well, I'm forfeiting, I took a bit too much damage on the way here, and I'm not really the fighter type. The man who had failed 7 times in a row, and now 8 times, departed. It didn't really matter in this round, but it left his comrades alone. Both of Kabuto's companions wore similar outfits, with light and dark spectacles on their eyes and masks covering their heads. Sasuke cast a suspicious gaze at Kabuto. Something about that guy seemed strange. Additionally, his teammates' masks and glasses gave them a dubious appearance. The participants for every duel may use whatever tools or jutsu they have in their arsenal, Hayate said, but no aid from their squad mates. The panel above will display your names and select a random pair to fight. Therefore, they may face anyone in this place, including their comrades and members of their own town. Sasuke gave Naruto a look. Hey, just so you know, you're one of the ones I want to fight the most. As Naruto gazed at him in wonder, he noticed that Sasuke was grinning. Slowly, he returned the smile. He had the impression that he was at last being recognized as a competitor deserving of his challenge. The names were moving quickly, and the first one landed. Yoroi Akado versus Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke grinned. I'm first up. Naruto scowled. He was usually in front of Sasuke, but he would be the one at the top one day. Sakura saw him and knew she needed to take action. She couldn't allow that curse mark to have a significant impact on him, whatever else it was doing. All she could hope was that Kakashi's plan would succeed. Sakura laid a hand on Naruto's shoulder and said, Naruto, get up and cheer up. I'm sure you'll do great. You're not that stupid dead last kid anymore. I'm so scared about you with that mark, but please don't make me regret this, her inner voice said. Naruto forced a grin as he glanced at her, thanks Sakura. On the second floor, where the onlookers were concentrated, they stood up. Naruto, wait here, exclaimed Kakashi. As the match was ready to start, he sprang down to the proctor. With haste, Kakashi went back up to his other 2 genin and whispered something in the man's ear. I've arranged for him to schedule your match once you're able to move again. If your opponent is selected soon, they'll just move on to the next one. Come with me, Kakashi stated. Glancing back at the arena, Naruto saw Hayate yell, begin. Sasuke started fighting with the other man. Even though he occasionally detested Sasuke, Naruto wanted to stay and support his opponent by watching the bout. He should at least say something, though, even if he knew he had to follow Kakashi. Naruto yelled, kick his butt. Sasuke, I'm gonna beat you if we fight. Just before he disappeared from view, Sasuke heard his voice and flashed his teammate a tiny smirk. Yoroi said, don't take your eyes off an opponent, as he dived at Sasuke. The Uchiha barely escaped the assault. He privately swore at himself for allowing Naruto to divert his attention. Sasuke leapt back, blasted out a fireball jutsu, and did a few fast hand seals. Yoroi sustained a moderate burn that prevented him from moving and he was unprepared for a long-range attack. Sasuke Uchiha is the winner, Hayate declared. Sakura watched Sasuke smirk, and so did he. She exclaimed, go Sasuke. Without the fangirling she would have a few weeks prior. However, as a helpful teammate. As a fangirl, Ino exclaimed, yeah, I knew you'd win Sasuke, from where she was standing. After giving Ino a quick glance, Sasuke turned to Sakura and waved in gratitude. Was Sasuke giving them additional insight? Sakura's eyes widened slightly. Perhaps he would be less heartless now. That would be beneficial. Perhaps their friendship would become deeper. Sakura cast a worried glance back over her shoulder. I hoped Naruto was okay. It took Kakashi a long time to jot down everything he needed for the formula for jutsu. Naruto let out a grunt. He wasn't only wearing shorts, He had removed his trademark orange jacket and the shirt underneath. Kakashi's formula had now left markings all over his body. "Ah, come on, I hate sitting around. I want to watch the rest of the matches," remarked Naruto. "Mine could be any time now." "Relax, Naruto, they're already aware that you'll be taking it easy for a little bit. Your match will be held off until you are awake. It might be a couple hours, but you'll just have to hang in there." Naruto sighed. "Okay, get ready. This will hurt," Kakashi announced. He then applied the method on Naruto's neck. Around the mark, the writing he had applied on Naruto gathered and sealed it. With a shriek, Naruto fell to the ground and lost consciousness. However, he should be up sooner than anyone else because to the Nine Tails' recovery. Kakashi remarked, "That should do it," a malicious voice said. "Well, you've come far, haven't you, young Kakashi?" "No," said Kakashi. Orochimaru appeared in a sound ninja Jonin costume, but he had temporarily removed his phony face to show his real one. "You think that seal will prevent me from influencing him? Someday that boy, or at least his fox, will be mine," Orochimaru replied. An enraged Kakashi questioned, "You want to turn Naruto into your lapdog? I won't let you have him. He is the son of the fourth Hokage, my sensei. I swore I'd guard over him once he became my student. I don't care if you are one of the 3 legendary Sannin. I'll kill you myself, or take you down with me." The room was filled with a remarkable amount of determination to kill, but Orochimaru only grinned. As he prepared a lightning sword, the chamber was illuminated by Kakashi's chakra. When Orochimaru responded, "Very nice, but not enough to kill me." Just as swiftly as it appeared, Kakashi's fury abruptly disappeared. Orochimaru, however, did nothing but turn his back. "I will have Naruto, one way or another." The snake man disappeared. Kakashi let out a sigh. "What was I thinking? There was no way I'd survive." Sakura and Sasuke watched the remaining matches outside. A member of a hidden rain ninja squad was vanquished by Shino Aburame, the insect user they had attended the academy with. Because that squad only possessed genjutsu, it was as easy as Sasuke's bout. Next up was Kankuro from the hidden sand village, who faced up against Masumi, Kabuto's other masked glasses-wearing partner who could extend his limbs and crush his opponents like a snake. Sasuke scowled at the screen. "That reminds me of that Orochimaru guy," Sasuke remarked. Sakura shuddered. "You're right, but he's from our village. No way he's involved with him, right?" Sasuke gave a headshake. "There's probably more than a few jutsu that are related to snakes. Probably just coincidence." Kakashi remarked, "Yes, there are many different types of jutsu that involve animals, as he came out of nowhere." Sakura said, "Kakashi-sensei, how's Naruto?" "I took care of it," announced Kakashi. "I put a seal on the curse mark so it shouldn't affect him too much. He'll be up and probably come running out for his match soon." Sakura let out a sigh of relief. She returned her focus to the game. Masumi had encircled Kankuro, or what they believed to be Kankuro, with his pliable snake-like form. The sand ninja's face broke abruptly, revealing a wooden puppet. Then, totally flipping the man around, the puppet encircled Masumi and squeezed. Masumi fell as there was a sound of bones cracking. Sasuke remarked, "So he's using a puppet, controlling it with his chakra. I could probably see that with my Sharingan." "Yeah, also, don't forget your Sharingan can copy other jutsu," Kakashi replied. "It might be a good idea to use it when the matches are on. You might learn some new techniques." "Ah!" cried Sasuke. His sensei was correct. When Hayate said that, he nearly used his Sharingan. "That's 3 matches done. We will be taking a 10-minute break before deciding the next one." That was fortunate because Sakura had to use the restroom. After washing her face and hands at the sink, she noticed someone in the mirror behind her. "Oh hey Ino," Sakura said, turning to grin at her longtime companion. "Glad to see you made it this far, Sakura," Ino replied. "Your match could up any minute. Hope you're ready. And even though we might not be rivals for Sasuke anymore, I won't hold back if I'm going up against you." Sakura exclaimed, "Wouldn't expect you to. We'll face each other as Leaf Village shinobi competitors." They exchanged a smile. Sakura returned to the field to join her teammates. Naruto was the more communicative of the two, so neither Sasuke nor Kakashi spoke. Sakura's gaze then shifted to the board. Now it was her turn, the board said. Hinata Hyuga versus Sakura Haruno. Sakura's gaze expanded. Was Hinata the opponent she faced? Her new romantic rival? Sakura noticed that the quiet girl was also wearing a shocked expression. They took their places on either side of the ring and moved carefully down the stairs to the arena where Hayate was waiting. Sakura remarked, I didn't expect to face you, Hinata. Neither did I, acknowledged Hinata. Sakura gave her a look. Even when it came to those who had harmed her, Hinata was soft and sympathetic, unlike Ino. She did, however, come from a proud clan that possessed the Byakugan, a powerful jutsu. In the eyes, it was a dojutsu, just like Sasuke's Sharingan. When Sakura and Hinata first met as kids at the academy, Hinata told her about it. She inquired after noticing the veins encircling Hinata's eyes. In order to interrupt the flow of a person's chakra system, Hinata was able to quickly and accurately hit the chakra points on her target. She would be lethal in close quarters because of that. Sakura would therefore need to use ranged strikes. She would lose if she got into a physical altercation. That would be difficult, though, because, if the Pinkette was recalling correctly, Hinata's Byakugan allowed her to see everything around her. Hayate exclaimed, "Begin!" Sakura secretly hoped she wouldn't damage Hinata too much, but she had no choice but to leap back and pull her shuriken and kunai. They were both aware of the dangers of becoming ninja. Although Hinata swiftly avoided the weapons, she trembled as they approached. "Sorry, Hinata, but I know your family jutsu is deadly up close," Sakura responded. Hinata gave a resolute nod. She blushed and said, "Say, Sakura?" "Yes," said Sakura reluctantly. Hinata said, "Why don't we make a bet?" With curiosity, Sakura inquired, "What sort of bet?" Shyly, she exclaimed, If I win, I get to spend time with Naruto. But if you win, you can do it." Sakura gave her a look. For such a timid girl, that was a brave step. Given that they are on different teams and that Hinata is now feeling the same way about Naruto, it is obvious that she would want to spend more time with him. Hinata would have fewer opportunities to spend time with her crush. Since the Land of Waves, they had not been practicing in groups as they had done at first. There must have been a sense of despair among the Hyuga. Sakura paused to reflect. Then a thought came to mind. Sakura exclaimed, "I think I have a better idea. How about you just tell Naruto how you feel to his face? He doesn't know, and while we may be rivals for him now, I think you should at least do that. You've liked him since we were kids." Hinata remarked, "He's felt the same way about you though." Sakura gave a nod. "You've always been nicer to him though. He needs to see you and then make a choice. For now, let's just give each other our best, and may the best girl win. After this, let's both tell Naruto how we feel." She held out her hand to Hinata, who was speechless. However, the Hyuga heiress shook Sakura's hand with a smile and a flush. "All right," she replied. "Let's do it, then." In an attempt to slow Hinata down rather than seriously hurt her, Sakura leapt back, pulled out another pair of shuriken, and hurled them low. Hinata jumped as she spotted it approaching with her Byakugan. Sakura saw an opportunity and continued the strategy as she advanced. Hinata ducked and jumped once again. Next, she noticed Sakura making hand signals. Clone Jutsu. On either side of her, two other Sakuras emerge. However, these were merely pictures and not real. Sakura's clones mirrored her as she pulled another set of shuriken. Because she couldn't identify which of them were phony shuriken, Hinata had to concentrate and avoid them all. Moving swiftly, she was able to accomplish this. However, Sakura's next attack came just as quickly. Blinding Light Jutsu. She launched the identical assault that she had used on Haku in the Land of Waves. The brightness briefly dazzled Hinata, forcing her to close her eyes, and Sakura spotted her opportunity. She rushed in. Just in time to witness the conclusion, Naruto entered from his previous location. Cha! The tiny girl was launched into the air when Sakura's fist struck Hinata's skull. The force of Sakura's attack knocked her unconscious when she struck the wall. Sakura was renowned for her incredible strength, which she typically utilized on Naruto whenever he committed a foolish act. However, she had just won this war by using it and her sharp brain. Hayate approached Hinata, who was unconscious. "The winner is Sakura Haruno." "Excellent work, Sakura!" exclaimed Naruto. Sakura grinned in relief as she looked up. "Naruto, you're awake." "Yeah. Good as new," exclaimed Naruto. Following the completion of Sakura and Hinata, Ino faced Neji. She was unable to withstand the older boy's mild fist jabs, which disabled her chakra and knocked her down. She was only able to stop a couple of blows before he swiftly undermined her resistance. Shikamaru and another Rain Village ninja followed. Due to this ninja's physical weakness and reliance on genjutsu, Shikamaru was able to win with relative ease. He moved in and captured the opponent in his shadow possession after removing a straightforward release hand seal. Lastly, Hayate declared, "Next match, Naruto Uzumaki vs Kiba Inuzuka. With a leap, Naruto entered the arena. He was finally going to prove to everyone that he was no longer the dead last. Kiba also jumped down, and the two irascible genin turned to confront one another. Well Kiba, I just want to say, don't take it personally if you get blown away, Naruto replied. Kiba winced. Hey, that's just what I was gonna say, except not so politely. Naruto grinned. Let's get this started. I couldn't agree more, Kiba said, peering down into his breast jacket. Ready, Akamaru? Woof. Kiba placed the small dog down before him. Hey, what's the puppy doing here? He's just gonna get in the way, said Naruto. I never go into battle without Akamaru. Naruto shouted at Hayate. Hey, you said our squad mates couldn't help us. That's got to be against the rules. Ninja hounds are allowed. They're just a tool in a ninja's arsenal. Naruto let out a sigh. Ah well, dealing with Akamaru should be easy. Don't be so sure about that. Enough talk. Begin, shouted Hayate, lowering his hand. Naruto was sent flying when Kiba charged in and struck him. He was certain it was over. However, Naruto stood up fast. Naruto wiped his cheek, barely feeling it, and questioned, is that all you got? With his teeth bared, Kiba yelled, far from it. Naruto joined his fingers. Kiba grinned, recognizing that posture. Gonna try and use a clone against me? I'd love to see you try, he yelled. Naruto remarked, be careful what you wish for. Shadow clone jutsu. Everyone who accompanied Naruto to the academy was shocked when 3 clones came out of nowhere. His jutsu had been at its worst then. How could he have elevated it to that degree? Sakura observed him as he faced his adversary. When Hinata opened her eyes, she saw Kurenai, her sensei. You did well, Hinata, her sensei remarked. A fresh voice said, don't give her false sentiment. Hinata turned to see Neji, her cousin. Leave Neji, exclaimed Kurenai. Neji gave Hinata a scowl. You truly are a failure to lose to a girl from a mere civilian clan. With a scowl, Hinata got up. Sakura has been working hard to improve her skills as a ninja. Neji's eyes, which are purple-white like those of their kin, grew wide. Wasn't Hinata meant to be the timid one? That wager earlier had not been a typical Hinata move either, nor had she found the confidence to speak up. It had been more audacious, but also nearly desperate. What's gotten into you? Hinata refused to give up. She could no longer afford to be timid. Sakura and Naruto had already gone on at least one date. If she wanted to stand a chance, she needed to show her courage like he did. I'm not going to let you or anyone else make me think less of myself. Even if my father or you don't think highly of me. That won't stop me from trying to improve even more. Just like Sakura has, exclaimed Hinata. Neji gave her a long look, then scowled and turned to go. He would watch this match and witness her idol's failure. Naruto was surrounded by shadow clones. Kiba was stunned by what he saw. How did Naruto master the most advanced version of that technique when he could never learn the basic one? Ha! Kiba was charged by the 5 Narutos. With a growl, the canine user sat down fast on all fours and called forth his canine jutsu. He was able to have canine reflexes as a result. He might be faster than all the clones even if he was outnumbered. 3 of them exploded and disappeared as he swung at them with a roar, but the 4th Naruto was able to block him. That allowed the 5th, likely the real one, to hit him. Next to Akamaru, Kiba fell to the ground. The puppy sent out a worried whine. Kiba noticed some blood where he had been hit on the mouth. Nice one, Kiba. But you might have a better chance if you send that puppy in to battle with you, Naruto chided. Kiba snarled, why you? And stood up. Come on, Akamaru. The 2 Narutos were approached by both the dog and the master. They came charging in, too. While the real Naruto chose Kiba, his shadow clone chose Akamaru. With a single bite to the hand, Akamaru's small but sharp fangs would more than be enough to destroy the shadow clone, so he leapt at it with his mouth open to bite. The shadow clone narrowly avoided the dog, but it was still possible. Then he captured the puppy and held him. Not so fortunate was the actual Naruto. As retaliation for earlier, Kiba delivered a solid barrage of blows thanks to his quick reactions. Kiba said, Akamaru, here, and threw a tiny object at his puppy. Akamaru consumed the item, a tablet. His chakra rose sharply, and his body's fur turned red. The shadow clone that was keeping him in place then vanished with a pop as he kicked it. Naruto, the actual one, rose. Naruto questioned, what happened? What was that thing you fed him? A food pill, exclaimed Kiba. Makes your chakra have a major boost. Naruto. Said Sasuke. Use your clones, create a whole bunch of them quick. Behind him, Naruto heard Sasuke. Even though he was unable to engage in combat with his buddy, he continued to provide support in other ways. Abruptly, however, he also heard another sound. In his mind, a malevolent voice replied, "You can use my power as well. The fox with 9 tails. If you employ my power, you can win with ease," said the fox. With a grunt, Naruto gripped his head. "Not now," he exclaimed. Kiba heard him ask, "Not now what? Not gonna use your shadow clones now? Well, that makes it easier for me. Come on, Akamaru." Kiba's puppy jumped up on her back. Man-beast clone. Akamaru became an exact replica of Kiba. The two dogmen glared at Naruto and growled. "I will not utilize your power, fox. Unless I absolutely must. Since I nearly hurt Sakura and everyone else the last time, I won't do it again," Naruto pondered. "You need my assistance to survive." Shaking his head, Naruto quickly reverted to his clone position. Right before the two Kibas charge. The room now included 10 Narutos. He was struck by the two as they attacked, but he was too slow to react. Luckily, his clones rapidly caught the enemy. Akamaru and Kiba were struck from every direction. There were simply too many clones, even if they were able to eliminate a few of them. Pops erupted, followed by grunts of agony, and then there was another pop as Akamaru took a series of blows and fell to the ground, returning to his normal shape. "Akamaru!" exclaimed Kiba. Oof! After being hit by one shadow clone and then another, the real Naruto stood back up and kicked him hard in the stomach. Kiba slid on the ground. Naruto gasped. Kiba stood motionless as Hayate approached him. "The winner is Naruto Uzumaki." "Yeah!" exclaimed Naruto. Sakura yelled, lifting her hands in the air. "Yeah, go Naruto." Naruto looked at Sasuke, who was smirking, and smiled up at her. As he ascended the stairs, Hinata and her two squadmates abruptly descended. "You did well, Naruto," Kurenai remarked. "I thought you wouldn't stand a chance against Kiba, but you proved me wrong." "Well done, Naruto," added Shino. "Thanks," said Naruto. Hinata responded, Here Naruto," reaching out to him. "This is a special healing ointment my clan uses. It should help with your wounds." "Thank you," murmured Naruto as he slowly accepted the present. She went on, Naruto?" just as he was ready to climb higher. He turned around. "Yes, Hinata." She flushed and said, "If you have some time afterwards, I need to talk with you and Sakura when we get back to the village." Sure," replied Naruto. He attempted to proceed, but was halted by the other Hyuga, who he dimly remembered as Hinata's cousin. "You may have won there, but if you face a true genius like me you will fail. It is your fate," Neji said. "Like Hinata, you are a failure." The elder boy's statements caused Naruto to gape. "Hey, she's your cousin. You ought to treat her with kindness." "I don't have time to argue with you about things you don't understand," Neji said, turning his scowl to Naruto. "You'll lose because you're simply another failure like her. Dead last rookies this year." Naruto clenched his jaw. He didn't like Hinata, but he also didn't enjoy it when she was disparaged. "Oh, indeed, we'll see about that, though, I'm going to kick your ass for saying that if we meet in the finals," Naruto added, pointing. Neji smiled and said, "I want to watch you try and fail." Sakura ran toward Naruto, who fumed, making amends to his colleagues. "You did fantastic, Naruto." As she gave him a hug, she said. Before giving the hug back, Naruto blushed profusely and said, "Thanks, Sakura." Then he looked at Sasuke and said, "I appreciate you telling me to utilize clones, Sasuke. That was really helpful." Sasuke grinned and said, "We still watch out for one another even if we can't fight as a team." To watch the final few matches, they turned around. The majority of the last 3 games were one-sided. The final surviving ninja from the Hidden Rain faced off against Choji Akamichi. However, Choji was unable to dispel Genjutsu, unlike Shikamaru. Team 7 saw him launch attacks at nothing in random directions, as though he were surrounded by unseen enemies. Oboro, the final Rain ninja. Sakura identified him as the guy who had previously impersonated Naruto, used the occasion to hurl kunai and shuriken at his adversary. As the weapons struck him and he fell, Choji let out a scream. Both Ino and Shikamaru were startled and worried. "Choji!" shouted Shikamaru, worried for his best friend. Naruto tightened his jaw. Shikamaru and he had spent time with Choji at the academy, but they were not close friends. As blood spilled onto the arena floor, The plump Akamichi youngster was taken to the infirmary for emergency care. Naruto could only watch with his own comrades. His teammates accompanied him. The matchup between Tenten from Neji and Lee's side and Temari from the Sand siblings wasn't any better. Tenten's strikes, which took the shape of thrown weapons, were all deflected by Temari's fan. Temari then released a strong chakra blast that knocked Tenten unconscious and sent her flying. She collapsed back into the floor, which now had dozens of weapons on it. However, before she could strike and be impaled by one of her own blades, Lee rushed in and grabbed her. It was exactly as one-sided as Choji's match, but it lasted a lot longer. The final match was then scheduled. Gaara vs Rock Lee. This one has a lot more entertainment value. Rock Lee, a bushy, brownish boy with a sensei who resembled him almost identically and even wore green spandex, leapt down into the ring as Naruto watched. Hayate exclaimed, "Begin!" Lee was the first to move and hit Gaara. Leaf Hurricane. He whirled in midair and kicked Gaara, who remained motionless, while glancing at Lee with those emotionless yet seemingly ruthless eyes. A big sheet of sand popped out of the bag on Gaara's back and blocked Lee's kick. Gaara was encircled by the moving sand, which formed a huge wall that fell on Lee, who jumped aside to avoid it. As he charged back in, he delivered a barrage of punches and kicks, but the sand rapidly became hostile and pursued Lee, who again fell and rolled away. He attempted to jump over it, but it pursued him and caught his foot. He had to get well fast to prevent the following onslaught after the sand threw him against a wall. Then he rushed back, carrying on with his close-quarters attack. "Sakura, I don't get it," she said. "He's only using taijutsu." Lee has no ninjutsu or genjutsu skills at all, Lee's sensei, Might Guy, noted. "You're kidding," yelled Sakura. "Oh, that's nothing. You should have seen how hopeless he was when I first met him. No talent whatsoever," Guy replied. Keeping his Sharingan active and monitoring the match in the hopes of learning anything new, Sasuke remained silent. Everyone assumed it was finished when Lee stood on top of the statue of a giant pair of hands in a jutsu symbol after he looked to be covered in a large rain of sand. Guy said, "Take them off, Lee," out of nowhere. Lee heard him, pulled down his trousers, and showed him a pair of weights on his legs. Had he never before been traveling at full speed? He was very quick already. Temari smiled too boldly. "Come on, do you really believe that losing a few pounds will be enough to get past Gaara's defenses?" Lee took off the weights and let them drop to the floor, causing a tremendous smash that cracked the floor and produced a sizable dust cloud. Those weren't a couple of pounds. Lee moved so quickly that Naruto and the majority of the other genin were unable to follow him with their eyes. Sasuke's Sharingan allowed him to. Gaara was compelled to cover himself in sand armor after being hit by several blows that even his own sand was unable to fully withstand. Gaara was smashed to the ground only when Lee grabbed him and whirled them around in midair, exposing a hollow sand armor that had served as a decoy. As Naruto and the others watched the match, Guy and Kakashi explained the situation to them. Gaara then reappeared behind Lee, who had fallen due to the force of his final technique, the primary lotus. However, Lee bounced back fast, got back up, and summoned a fresh weapon. Fourth gate. Gate of Pain. Open. Lee's body blazed green, and he moved so quickly and released so much power that the area's floor was shattered everywhere. Even when the pressure of his chakra tore his muscles apart, he struck Gaara. After causing damage and breaking the armor, he opened the fifth gate and delivered the final blow. Gaara was still able to move and had his sand, but Lee also suffered severe harm. It made contact with Lee's left arm and leg before striking. Lee's cry when the sand coffin crushed his two encased limbs. Gaara was about to land the final blow when Guy, appearing to use his bare hands to dissipate the sand, descended to defend his pupil. "Why would you want to save him?" "Because he's my student and also because he's precious to me." After a moment of shock, Gaara left, but to everyone's surprise, Lee somehow got up and continued the fight despite being too wounded and crippled. Gaara was declared the winner, and Guy sobbed to see his student still willing to fight despite everything. However, the doctors brought some terrible news. He has severe injury to his left arm and leg. His shinobi existence is ended, and he will never be able to battle again. Guy and Naruto gaped at that, and Naruto saw his fellow Leaf Village shinobi being carried to the hospital. "No, that can't be true," Naruto added, his eyes welling with tears. Sakura and Sasuke felt the same way, despite their short time together. Naruto could admire Lee's determination, even without the use of ninjutsu or genjutsu, and even more so after he was seriously injured, especially since his smile never left his lips even when his life was in jeopardy. There's nothing you can do for him, Naruto, Kakashi said, placing a hand on his pupil's shoulder. However, treat him with respect as a fellow shinobi and give it your all in the next bouts. Sakura was crying, Naruto sniffed and nodded, and Sasuke glanced down as his Sharingan withdrew. Now that the bouts were completed, it was time to prepare for the latter final rounds, and the proctor held out a box for the remaining competitors, who gathered at the bottom once more. Get in line and approach each person individually. A deck of cards with numbers on them is included in this package. These will establish the pairings for the last round. After receiving their cards and returning to their positions, they watched the final matchups as the numbers were called. Neji Hyuga vs Naruto Uzumaki. Oboro vs Sakura Haruno. Uchiha Sasuke vs Gaara Kankuro vs Shino. Temari vs Shikamaru. Naruto thought, Neji Hyuga right away. Sasuke has to battle that Gaara man with the sand, and Sakura is facing the guy who tied me up in the forest before we ran into Orochimaru with the oxygen mask. Even though he wasn't the smartest person on his team or in the leaf, Naruto knew he and Sasuke would have their work cut out for them with their opponents. It was said that Neji was the best genin in the leaf today, and that sand had been trouble. He couldn't say much for Sakura's opponent, though the genjutsu might be an issue. Of course Sakura could use that too. According to Hayate, the next part of the exams takes place in 1 month, which will allow you time to heal from your injuries and pick up some new skills. These contests will be held in the Hidden Leaf Village arena. Naruto's gaze shifted from Sakura to Sasuke. It's time to exercise like crazy when we return, Naruto exclaimed. Sakura grinned at him, and Sasuke grinned back. They both agreed that they would need to train and get stronger, both individually and as a team, for their upcoming battles. But Sakura had another thought, something she needed to do. She looked up at the stands where Kurenai was standing with Kiba and Hinata, who were primarily watching Shino, though for Hinata it was Naruto. They would need to talk when they returned to the village, and Naruto needed to know about both of their feelings. She also knew that she would need to train and improve her genjutsu and other skills because a shinobi must be ready for anything, both in battle and in love. Sakura moved up to the other 3 members of Team 8 once their matches were decided, but she was still behind Shino. Sakura? Kurenai inquired. Sakura remarked, I have a request of you, Kurenai-sensei. Actually, it's a request of Hinata as well as of you. Each one. I want you to start by teaching me more genjutsu and other manageable techniques. Nodded Kurenai. I was thinking the same thing and was going to discuss it with Kakashi. So I imagine we'll be returning to the village through the Forest of Death, Sakura said with a smile before turning to Hinata. Let's wait for one another when we return via the entryway. If we arrive first, I'll keep Naruto with me. After that, we may both express our feelings to him. Sakura turned away, and the Hyuga girl fainted, but Kiba caught her before she struck the ground, and Hinata turned completely scarlet but nodded. The dog user remarked, Boy, I don't know if she can manage this. Akamaru agreed and barked. After a day of respite, the squads returned through the Forest of Death, but this time they had their senseis with them, which made the journey considerably easier because Kakashi-sensei was able to quickly kill 1 or 2 of the terrible monsters they came across. They quickly reached the gate and discovered Hinata waiting there as well. To Sakura's surprise, Kiba was by her side, so no, she wasn't alone. There you are. I was growing impatient. We got here over an hour ago, Kiba exclaimed. Roof. Akamaru let out a bark. Hold on, were you anticipating us? Naruto inquired. It was Sakura's request. She and Hinata had something they both wished to say to you, Kiba replied. Sakura remarked, I didn't ask you to be here, though. Given that Hinata is often a shy girl, I assumed she could require some assistance. However, I've observed that she's becoming a little more confident recently, Kiba remarked. You wanted to say something to me? Naruto asked, looking around in confusion. Both Hinata and Sakura nodded, their cheeks flushed, and as the words reached their throats, their tongues appeared to curl in their mouths. Sakura stammered, yeah, Naruto the thing is that both, Hinata and I, we, like you. For years, Naruto had been looking forward to the day Sakura would declare her unwavering love for him, which he had been willing to labor for years to acquire. However, Hinata was an unexpected bonus. What? Naruto cried out. He would have been ecstatic if there had only been Sakura, but now he was completely bewildered. 2 girls? What was he going to do? Looking at the red-faced Hinata, he remembered all the times she had stuttering and acting apprehensive. Had she always been like Wei, he remembered, because she liked him? And Naruto, indeed, I've liked since we were kids, Hinata stammered. Sakura had red cheeks and was staring at him when she fell before he could react, and Kiba caught her. Sakura remarked, I started to like you after we were placed on the same squad because of your ability to use shadow clones, your warmth, your humor, and your positivity. I liked them all. Looking back at Hinata, Naruto grinned and flushed, but the confusion persisted. Sakura remarked, but, Hinata saw the real you all along, adding, she's loved you unconditionally while I was stuck liking Sasuke for a long time. Comparing myself to her makes me feel like I don't deserve you. But, Naruto, it's up to you. I would be content if you truly wanted me. However, Hinata is a wonderful girl. Possibly even better than I am. As he placed Hinata on a nearby bench, Kiba laughed and said, still a nervous wreck though. Come on, Hinata, wake up. This is something you cannot afford to miss. The white-eyed girl with raven hair opened her eyes. Naruto is gonna have to choose between you and Sakura, he stated to her. I fainted again, didn't I? Hinata groaned. I apologize, but I simply can't resist. Naruto glanced at each of them, and he had to decide. So, who will it be, Naruto? Sakura inquired. With a sorrowful expression on his face, Naruto approached Hinata, knowing that Sakura was the person he liked, even if he didn't want to hurt her. Saying, you Sakura, she gave him a smile, and he turned to face Hinata, whose eyes began to well up a little. I apologize to Hinata, but Sakura has been a favorite of mine for years. I'm flattered that you feel that way, and I had no idea. However, I am only able to date one girl. She gave a sorrowful nod. I hope we can be friends at the very least, he inquired. Tears started streaming down her cheeks as she nodded once more. Yes, Naruto. But I have to be alone myself right now, therefore I can't. Kiba jumped up and raced after her, looking back at Naruto, and she started to cry, which both Sakura and Naruto found painful, even though Sakura had known that was coming for both of them. Naruto, you had better defeat Neji in the upcoming round. He truly wounded her, and I'll punish you even more for losing and causing her pain if you don't. After Hinata, he disappeared into the trees, leaving Sakura and Naruto alone. Well, it's not exactly a joyful admission, is it? Sakura uttered those words. You think she'll be alright? Yeah, not real happy at all, Naruto concurred. She'll be fine, she just needs time to heal and move on, Sakura replied. She remembered how painful it had been when Sasuke had turned her down before the journey to the Land of Waves, but she had moved on after learning that fresh love was possible, and now Hinata would have to do the same. But I'm glad you picked me, she said. He glanced at her forehead as she slowly gave him a hug in return. You know, you have a large charming forehead that makes me want to kiss it, she said. She looked down sheepishly, blushed, and smiled, which allowed Naruto to lean forward and press his lips to Sakura's forehead. After a moment, he drew back, and now it was her turn. She pressed her lips to his own, and they kissed, their mouths locking and their embrace tightening, before briefly breaking apart. I love you Naruto, Sakura declared. He was stunned by the remarks, but he grinned broadly. I also adore you, Sakura, I have for a very long time, he replied. After giving each other another hug, Naruto felt compelled to make a confession. You recall the day we were assigned to a team? Hey, there's something I got to tell you, he remarked. Indeed, how about it? Well, you see, I kind of transformed into Sasuke and walked up to you, telling you had a large charming forehead like I did just a moment ago, he said. Sakura, who had always wondered why Sasuke had behaved in such a manner before abruptly becoming aloof and calling her obnoxious, was taken aback. Her words, I should have known, described how bizarre Sasuke's actions were, like to someone flipping a switch that turned off after a few seconds. However, I now see him for who he is. Too focused on retaliation and cold-hearted. I've already moved on, but he seems to have opened up more. Naruto, I'm with you. Forever. In my life, you are like a bright sun. She gave him a smile. Naruto remarked, I always love seeing that smile of yours. She grinned even more, and then she had a thought. To celebrate, let's go eat some ramen, she proposed. Oh, indeed. Naruto yelled, Ichiraku, I'm coming. The newlyweds grabbed hands and started walking toward Naruto's favorite eatery.
I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.